What's going on out there, traders? How we doing? Welcome back to, of course, Trade the Pool. I'm ready to get things started, ready to look into the market, see what I can come up with. And guess what? Another day starting with a little bit of that cushion. Got to make that cushion. You guys know how I've been talking about pre-market trading here and taking advantage of the features that I have, of course, on Trade the Pool. Let's get to today's playbook, see what we got up our sleeves. And then, of course, we'll take a look at the live trading action. We got a nice sunrise report. We'll see what's on the docket today. And of course, we'll also talk about Nvidia during the live stream. What will happen to Nvidia after the earnings today? What will happen to the market environment? Big day, of course, for tech. We'll find out what you guys can be trading during the live stream today. But I got a couple of swing trades in the green and one on the playbook. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, first up on today's playbook, we're going to take a look at Macy's, right? I've been talking about this trade for a little while now, right? If you guys have been here on the stream, you guys have seen me get after this trade, and now I'm really feeling confident about it. So let's talk a little bit more about it here, as I'm already in this trade. I will give you guys that, right? I am in this. Full disclosure, I'm in a swing already on this. My average is exactly 576. Looking for this to keep coming down. Right now, we're trading at 1538. So I'm up here towards the 70s. Really was looking to kind of jump in a bigger at the 16s. Got closer towards that. Yesterday was up there. The day prior was up there too. So now I'm looking to see if we can take out the lows to the left-hand side. I see this 15 here stand out to me. And if we could really cut through that, that could be the area where I could start taking some profits or looking for the move to 14. So definitely a big area to watch for it right here, undercutting back through the 15. And why am I going after Macy's? Has to do with recession concerns and also the earnings talk that they gave. They talked about closing stores and changing the business model, essentially. They're talking about opening what? Opening very small footprints of stores, closing those big ones down, trying their ways to control cost so that they can control their margins and stay alive. In this case, I think Macy's doesn't stay alive in the long run. 2-3 years from now, I could see this being a Sears and JCPenney story. We'll see what happens there in Macy's. And we'll talk a little bit about JWN, of course, Nordstrom, as their earnings came in, and they weren't that bad as Macy's, but we'll talk about that on today's sunrise report. Let's get to the second one in the playbook today, which is going to be a short on Carvana. And the reason why I'm calling this is a longer term trade, right? So this is based on the big gains that this stock has had already in 2024. This stock, if you think about it, is up a whopping, right? It's up like 186%. At this point, I think it could come down and start to crumble. So the biggest thing is that this stock has made that big move. And if I look at the weekly chart, I'm going to see that we're running right into a big overhead resistance. And on that weekly, we did kind of bunch up there. So it could be a big resistance here right above towards that 164 kind of area. So that's the area that I'd be watching out for. If you get towards that 164, you could reject from that and start heading back towards, let's say, the 130 and 100 spot. So there's potential here to get after it and use that resistance as your risk spot. We'll see what happens there in Carvana. And another mention is if recession concerns come back into play, this is also a stock that I'd come after on the downside. Let's get to today's third play and that's going to be maybe a scalp on the VIXI. I've been playing this multiple times, guys. I played this already 3 scalps. All 3 have worked, and I've been maybe a little bit greedy now, thinking that this will continue to work. But I've gotten small little pops to work for me in the VIXI. And the VIXI is going to be all dependent on if we start to get a down move in the intraday. So, of course, yesterday, Nvidia started to go back up. But I think today you might see a leak in the intraday. I know a lot of traders are going to be wanting to trade this to the upside today. And with that mentioned, maybe they get caught towards the open. They get a big washout, get caught, wash out, stop out a bunch of traders. And then towards the end of the day, it starts to rise right back up. That's how I'll be watching for today's action. So looking for the VIXI to get back above the 1130s. give me that first quick spike to show me that you want to move. Then I can take it from the 1130s back towards the 1165s and 1185s, where you've seen the stock go plenty of times before, right? And so we'll see if we get that move back into that 1160s and 1170s, where we even went to 12 last week. We'll see if we could start making a move back up there. And of course, that's on the VIXI. And we'll like to see 11 hold on any downside action, maybe an undercut towards this 1107, and you're rising right back up. We'll see what happens there on the VIXI. Of course, the VIXI has great potential here through that 1120s, back into this 1160s. Look for it to hold those 11s. We'll see what happens in today's playbook. But that's it for, of course, the playbook action. And a big part of this will depend on how Nvidia and the overall market trades today. And we'll be talking a little bit more about Abercrombie and Nordstrom on the Sunrise Report. So don't go anywhere, team. Let's kick things going. And let's go to now the Sunrise Report and see what today brought. All right, traders, let's kick things off with a little bit of some Goldman Sachs trade talk. And of course, you guys know how I refer to Goldman Sachs as Goldman sucks. But we'll talk a little bit about them. They're giving a warning here that I think we all need to pay attention to. So Goldman Sachs says, are we ignoring the red flags? In what feels like a roller coaster ride, the market confidence has surged back following a dramatic global sell-off, right? But should we be celebrating just yet? Christian Mueller-Glissman, head of asset allocation research at Goldman Sachs, is putting a warning out there. He's saying certainly doesn't think so, right? Speaking on CNBC's Squawk Box Europe, he likened the early August stock slump to a warning shot. So that's the way he sees it, right? He says after, of course, the S&P 500 dropped a whopping 3% on August 5th, its biggest one-day loss since 2022, and stocks have roared back in the S&P 500, jumping 8%. The Dow Jones climbing over 6%. But here's the kicker. Is this recovery just too good to be true? And I think that this is what we need to be asking ourselves, right? Mueller-Glissman warned that the quick return to the record levels might be masking the underlying weakness that's in the market. Are we just setting ourselves up for a bigger fall later? He points out that while the S&P is back up, risk appetite hasn't fully recovered. And the safe assets like bonds, golds, and the yen haven't sold off. So are we really out of the woods, or is this just the calm before the storm? We need to keep our eyes out on this, investors. So I thought this was a great conversation by Goldman Sachs. Of course, I always hit them with the Goldman sucks, but this is a great conversation because he's right. If you look at the defensive names, you look at gold, they're still up at the top. So is this the calm before the storm? I'll throw it to you guys out there, investors and traders. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. I'll definitely catch them before the end of the sunrise. Let's keep going. Let's get to the second report here as we talk a little bit about Abercrombie and Fitch, the soaring apparel stock. I mean, this stock has been absolutely ripping, right? So let's talk a little bit about this as it's the strong quarter, but taking a hit on it. So Abercrombie and Fitch posted some impressive numbers with revenues up 21% in their fiscal second quarter. They even issued a bullish guidance for the current quarter. But wait, don't get too excited, guys. CEO Franz Horowitz hinted something that should make us all just take a pause. For the first time in fourth quarter, she said, mentioned that the uncertain state of the economy in their current release is showing up for concern, right? And so is Abercrombie bracing for impact? That's what we need to be thinking about in the future earnings that are coming. The numbers here, they weren't bad, right? They were pretty solid. Earnings came in at $2.50, beating the expectations. Sales rose to $1.13 billion, and same-store sales jumped 18%. Thanks to, of course, strong summer and back-to-school shopping, but Horowitz cautioned the tone suggests that the second half here could be a different story. And Abercrombie is really prepared for what's next. Are we seeing the peak before the potential downturn? And one thing that I would draw out there as a question is, When stocks start coming down on good earnings, that is an early sign that we're nearing the top. We'll see what happens there. Let's get to the third report here as we kick things off to Foot Locker. Foot Locker's turnaround, as it's not a bad story here. At least in the numbers, they're telling us something. And I've been super bearish against Foot Locker, so I'm not going to act like I haven't been in that camp. So let's talk a little bit about what happened here in their earnings. So is this turnaround enough for Foot Locker to stay in the game? That's the biggest question. Foot Locker managed to surprise the market with positive comparable sales growth for the first time in 6 quarters. The company's same-store sales grew 2.6% in their fiscal second quarter, beating the expectations. Yet despite these positive trends, shares dropped 5% in pre-market trading. Why the drop? Are investors still skeptical about Foot Locker? Or is just the D2C model that other kind of footwear makers, right, are making, and they're moving towards just direct to consumer? Is this what's going on here in Foot Locker? That's the way I think about it, right? But if you look at what is being said here, right, CEO Mary Dillon insists that the company's lace up plan is working. And back to school sales and the stabilization of their Champs Sports banner, right? The Champs brand is here to stay, right? But here's the dilemma. Foot Locker still posted a loss here of $12 million or 13 cents per share. So is this turnaround real, or is this just a temporary relief? That's what we need to be thinking about. I think at the end of the day, Foot Locker has been struggling, and a lot of that is the turnaround that you see in, of course, footwear going directly to the consumer. So in the long run, I don't support this move, but Foot Locker with a nice little bounce back quarter. Can't be mad about that. Let's kick it now towards as we get over to Chewy. Wrong one there, right there. Let's talk a little bit about some Chewy. I don't want to miss it, right? Chewy is a big focus, of course, with the roaring kitty out there, but is the pet market cooling down? As they reported Q2 EPS here of 24 cents, which isn't really comparable to the 2-cent estimate, so I won't focus on that. But here's the catch. The sales did miss the mark, coming in at $2.85 billion versus the $2.86 billion estimate. The company's guidance for Q3 and the fiscal year 24 for sales were slightly below the consensus. So is Chewy starting to feel the pinch of slowing down in the pet market? I think this is something we need to think about, right? Because as consumers tighten their belt, right, as we get more focus of recession, Chewy's growth story may be facing some headwinds. Are we seeing the beginning of a slowdown? And can Chewy bounce back stronger in the coming quarters is something that we'll all be watching, especially the investors in Chewy. Let's kick it now over as we get over to Nordstrom, JWN, right? Nordstrom's not a bad report here. It's not looking like Macy's, I'll tell you that. As Nordstrom delivered strong Q2, adjusted EPS of 96 cents, beating the 71-cent estimate. However, sales missed expectation, also coming in at 3.894 versus a 3.89 estimate. So despite, of course, the sales, the company is optimistic, citing plans to open 12 more rack stores ahead of the holiday season. But here's the million-dollar question. Can Nordstrom maintain the momentum in an uncertain retail environment? As we keep talking more and more about recession concerns, will that come into play and actually affect a negative outlook in Nordstrom? So Nordstrom is also focusing on improving its sales to inventory spread. So pay attention to that, which could, of course, help them navigate any bumps ahead. So will this strategy be enough to ensure a strong finish in the year? Or is there more challenges on the horizon? Little part of me would bet more on those challenges. Let's get to the last one here as we talk a little bit about Legos here, right? And looks like my banner there didn't kind of update there. Let me go ahead and fix that. Just give me 2 seconds here, guys. Let me fix this up here. All right, like always, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about Legos. The reason why I talk about Legos and why I think it's very important is that as we take a look here, we're going to be watching to see what happens in the consumer, right? And in the consumer space, we're definitely taking a look at it here to see how Lego performs, right? I'm going to go ahead and just kind of forget about the banner down below, the guys. I'm just going to leave it there. But Legos had impressive growth here, and I think it's an impressive outlook because the truth is this tells us about the consumer. So Lego reported a 13% jump in revenue for the first half, reaching 31 billion. Right, of course, Lego. You guys can take a look at Hasbro. Hasbro would be the kind of the company with different kind of outlook here to see if they can get the lift. But I think this is also important because it shows us that there's certain areas that the consumer is still willing to be strong. So yes, we will run into recession concerns, but there could still be areas of strength here. Of course, as we go into the holiday period, I'll be watching stocks like this, which stocks will get a lift, which stocks will take a hit. I think all things that we need to think about, especially as we get closer to the holiday period. That's going to do it for us on today's Sunrise Report. Like always, guys, we'll keep talking about the action. I think today's top report, though, definitely we need to talk about more about that Goldman Sachs warnings because we need to be taking a look to see what happened in the market. And would this be a turnaround? Will we see value kind of get rid? I think tonight's the big look, right? What happens in Nvidia's earnings will also take an effect on growth stocks and the value names. Value names could sell off with it, or value names could get bought as, of course, Nvidia wrecks the tech space and we start to see things turning back to the downside. It's going to be a massive report. I'm not betting on either side before that report because the truth is you're just gambling. But let's get to the live trading action. And today I will be having a new trader join me. Excited to talk a little bit about that. But hey, guys, stick around. We got a lot more for you guys right here. It's time to kick things off and get over to, of course, you guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. Let's get to the live trading side of things and kick things started. Let's go, guys. Let's see what we got. I already got a nice cushion. Let's see what I can do with that. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What's going on, traders? How we doing out there? Who's ready to get into this market? Get that money. I know I'm ready to get after it. I've had a great 2 weeks. Yesterday, another beautiful day. Can't be mad at all because the truth is, it was a break-even day. But break-even days are going to come. And I set myself up for a nice win. Sometimes you're going to get it. Sometimes you're not. That was AMD yesterday. And the most important thing, though, I didn't necessarily have a red day yesterday. It was a neutral day. Neutral days give you the ability to take swings again, baby. So today, we're starting it off right. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's take a look at the action and see what we already came up with. All right, guys. So the first things first, I do want to take a look at the swing trade talk. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. Let's just first take a look at the day trade that I already took here. And of course, in the money, baby. And we got some new faces in the chat. So I want to say hello, right? Lodo is in the chat there. I was hanging out on beginner trading streams. So if you guys don't know beginner trading, I'll definitely throw it up in the chat there in a little bit to give you guys a link. But check them out on YouTube, beginner trading. They do a lot of great trading, guys. It's actually the family that I started with here on YouTube, moved over to Benzinga. Now, of course, here with the Trade the Pool fam. But hey, family all around. And I'm never one of those people that try to burn bridges. I love to have different communities that I still, to this day, learn from. So shout out to my man, John from Beginner Trading and everybody that's tuning in from there. It's always good to see you guys. If you're new to the show, say hello. I always like to catch some new faces in the chat. All right, guys, let's keep going. Let's see what else is out there. A lot of money to be made today. Day trade with Tony. Where's the money, guys? Where are you looking at? Option strangles on Nvidia. Salesforce and CrowdStrike for earnings tonight. Also working NTAP. Yeah, I've seen those option strangles and different things like that. Day trade with Tony. I'll tell you what, man. I need to maybe take a look into the option game. I can tell you I've done it plenty of times and it just hasn't worked out for me. And I've even taken advanced derivative courses in college. It just hasn't worked out for me. Always the equities has been what's worked for me. So I think I'll just stick to that, but I can see why you would use options. One of the most important ways I think of using options is for hedging a like position, right? And I think that that's what you'll see done today is a lot of option hedging. But just to mention that, let's get to the trade right now. The trade was on BSLK. You guys see it there. I'm up about 130. And this wasn't a monster trade, very small, guys. And I think that that's actually what's been helping me in the morning, right? It's not going too big, too fast, right? It's a habit that I've been trying to make improvements on. So when I came in this morning, I could see this stock just trading just slightly above the fours, and I was looking for a slight pullback to get after it. It tapped to 410 there, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting in. Then it comes back down below 4, almost to the 380s, and I was thinking about adding at 370s, but definitely didn't want to go back to 360s. Then it comes right back through the 4 and starts to climb. I'm looking for a move essentially towards 5, but it starts to slow up there around the 470s. So right around this 470s, it started to slow up. So I said, you know what? Let me not be greedy. Let me take the money and run. So I took some at 73, gave it the chance to run to 5, took the all out at 479. So 200 shares, giving me a nice little $129 to start the day. And the truth is, that wasn't much risk. That was a $40 risk there. So $40, 129 return, better than a 3-to-1 return. And that's what I'm looking for in these pre-market trades. It's not monster returns. It's cushions for the intraday so that when you go and you take your first hit, if you do take a hit, guess what? You shake that thing like no other, right? Because now I have that ability to take a swing and use that. Not feel negative when I take a $150 risk because I already got that cushion. So we'll see what happens there in BSLK. It did come back down towards the $4. And I was even thinking about shorting it after that pop, but I thought that was I was trying to get too pretty with it. So I was like, I'm going to leave it alone. It's back to 424. So we'll see what happens to this one. Another thing that I'm using here, guys, is I'm using the gapper scan, but you also see me using what? You're going to see me doing a situation where I look at the volume 5-minute percentage. So that just tells me which one of these are moving, which one of the gappers are moving. So BOF is one that is already making a move there. And the move was probably right here on the cup and handle pattern. The very similar pattern that I just traded, right? So you get this cup action where it went to 84s. It pulls back to the 90 MA. Really good levels to look at, 77, 78 to get an entry. Back up towards that 84. And really what you need is about at least 10 cents, right? So even if you got to the 87, you're looking good there. You could take some profits into the 90s. It went all the way to that $1, comes right back to the 9, recollects. So you could get another recollect at 98 and maybe get one more attempt to the upside, but I don't see too much further in this BOF. All right, let's talk a little bit about the swing trade side of things. And if you guys got a trade you guys want to talk about, throw it up in the chat. I'll definitely be trying to catch some chat conversation. And you guys out there watching on YouTube, smash the like, especially out there also on Twitter. Taking a look at this, guys. Like always, guys, if you guys can hit the share button and share this on your social media, truly, I would appreciate it. Let's take a look around. Let's see what else we got here. And let's get to the swing trade side of things. So nothing filling today, but look at the cash out there, guys. Look at the cash. All right, guys. So got some good trades on here. 3 trades out there, 3 in the green. Yesterday, did get a loss in CleanSpark, just to mention, right? Not everything's going to be green, but watching CleanSpark to see if I get a recovery today. But really have a really nice trade on in Macy's, as Macy's going lower here towards the 1520s. I got 500 shares, 1576, more than enough shares needed to get a really nice win here in Macy's. I can see Macy's dropping even to 14. 14 would be a massive return. So that's what I'm going to stick to right now. Looking for the cut down below the 15 today on Macy's, really starting to break down. And a lot of that will be the help of A&F already down there to 150.70s. JWN that had good report is down on the report. Look how it spiked, but now it's actually going back below the closing price, showing me weakness in retail. And that weakness could come all around, even on a name like Ulta that has the Warren Buffett support. Now you got to be careful for the takedown right back down below those levels. Lulu, I think it's a sell now. It was a nice little rip. Now it could come right back down. And I think that you're going to start to see some recession concerns come back into play today. And we saw XRT trying to make a move back there towards 78 and now could start to turn right back to the downside. So we'll keep a watch to see what happens. Will the recession concerns come back into play? And one that I'll be watching for a short potentially here is Zoomies. So Zoomies, of course, is a skateboarding shop, and I've been looking at this all morning. Trust me, if I could short 28 right now, I would be short already on Zoomies. But I'll keep watching it to see if it's going to break down today, especially any pop towards, let's say, 28.50s, 28.70s, or even a move to 29 out the gates would seem awesome for a swing short. We'll see what happens there in Zoomies. Zoomies. And A&F, of course, AEO could be ways that we could trade and come after this. Urban, we can short gaps. GPS has been really strong, right? So take a look at Gap. So I'll keep watching Gap there. GAP coming down there already. This has been strong, right? So you guys can see how this was up there to the 30s, now starting to reject and looking really bearish off of this 25 rejection. So there's been what? 1, 2, 3, 4 times to try to get over that 25. Hard rejection in the last 2 days to try to get back through the 24s. This looks like it's leaking already here, guys. Let's see if I can get a tight spread on this. I wouldn't mind already taking it. And you can see it there, 22.50s. I can't come after this. I need a bounce here. But this is definitely something to look for. Bounces to get short on. Zoomies, I need to go ahead and set an alert on that too. I want to watch this because definitely this could be breaking down pretty fast here. The spread is affecting me here, so got to set the alert and set it off of not the last, but let's say the ask. 29, 24. All right. 29.50s, that's where the ask is right now. The spread is what's affecting this alert, so it's hard to like set it there. But we'll see what happens on Zoomy. I definitely will have Zoomies on watch. Zoomies. All right, guys, what's going on out there, traders? It's good to see you guys out there. In a second, I'm going to bring on a trader to come and join me, right? Special guest today, guys, so definitely smash the like. Hit the like, guys, and we'll get things started here. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. Let's keep it on for you guys to learn from every single day. So if you guys have a trader or you guys want to join yourself to the show, let me know, guys. Reach out to me and we'll definitely bring you on. All right, let's go ahead. Let's bring on Ash here today, guys. Of course, Ash Kumara is a community builder, a global speaker, right? He's a former national radio host. He's honored by even the White House. He's helped launch California's entrepreneurship program with Startup America and has been featured on top outlets like Forbes and Wall Street Journal. I'm excited to meet the man himself. What's going on, Ash? How we doing?
Hey, man. How you doing, man? It's good to see you.
It's definitely good to see you. First time on, and definitely I would love to hear a little bit more about yourself. First, tell us a little bit about how you got into trading and your financial journey. I know that it's gone through a whole world of different kind of aspects in the financial space. So tell us first a little bit about yourself, then we'll get more into the trading action.
Yeah, no problem. So, I love building communities. I love helping people out in entrepreneurship, in helping people, as quote, cheesy as it might sound, manifesting their dreams. That's kind of the mission I live. And how I got started with financial markets is very simply, I just started looking at individual stocks. Then I started looking at ETFs. And then I started looking at various options. And then I looked at what are the convergences between alternative assets and public equities. And I got to tell you, right now at this stage, the state that we live in, there's no better time to get involved in the market. I mean, look at where the S&P 500 is right now. Look at how could you not want to get involved in the market? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter what your level is. There's something for everyone. It's like a unlimited buffet out there. It's like, what option do you want to pick, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the truth is that I always say you're never short of opportunities in this type of market. And that right there is something within itself, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all looking for opportunities to boost our wealth, right? And make a move up. Because at the end of the day, it's not about buying a lunch. It's about actually taking a step up in wealth for our families. So I think that there's definitely opportunities out there. It's never short of opportunities. It's more along what's your flavor of ice cream? Because there's a lot out there, right? But tell me first.
I will say this, though. Sorry, if I may add. I will say this, though. Using that buffet analogy, let's say I kind of feel like there's a lot of froth. There's a lot of whipped cream on top of your favorite dessert. And what I mean is that look at the market right now. I feel it's as overvalued as it was as probably early 2022 when like the S&P 500 reached the same similar peak. What do you think?
I would definitely agree. I mean, and I was talking about it today with Goldman Sachs mentioned. I don't know if you saw that, but I thought it was very important. They said it themselves, right? And how this seemed to me like it was a warning shot, right? That first down hit. And one of the signs that they're pointing to is that value and kind of gold and those, not the risky assets are still kind of holding on near the top. So normally if we were at this point where we just said, oh yeah, we'll kick out that, forget the recession talk. Everybody's thinking growth. That's not exactly what we're seeing. Still tech stocks are holding on and the growth names are holding on, but the value names are up at the top also. So at any moment, I think that trades is going to flip, right? I think we've already seen it. Defensive names, like let's say like even like your household goods, right? Like Procter & Gamble, Clorox, names like that have been actually strong lately. And I think that's just an early sign. I think what we're going to be moving in is the back and forth between the heavy R word now, right? And the conversation of recession, right? Because it's going to come back and forth. Right now, they just pushed it out, right? With the retail numbers that came in. But as soon as you get any downside action, guess what's going to come back? The recession concern again, right? And I think that's what we need to be watching for, because if we do go to recession, yes, we are going to see the struggle out there. And I think that the AI hype exactly for, let's say, large language models like ChatGPT and more like your chip players like Nvidia, that hype is slowly dying. I know that there's tons of analysts out there saying that we're in the early innings of AI, and I do agree, early innings of AI. But what does that actually involve, right? Is that more your Chat GPT, or is that more like what I think it moves into, more into the robotics and going more into autonomous driving? Because I think that those are the areas where I think AI truly can make it to the bottom line versus just being talk about a feature that is included in your phone or something that you can be using, but not really driving revenue, right?
Yeah, one thing I'd say about that, first off, I do not disagree with you that there is a potential AI hype. I live in the Bay Area, and so everything around me is AI. I mean, I go to my office, and like even the janitor has like an AI app they're developing. No joke, like AI is everywhere in the Bay Area, and I can only imagine how much it is across the country of America and across the world. But I want to point out a thought. I was thinking about this. Okay, so if AI hype is here to stay, what are those industries that are not as sexy as AI that can be affected? And one thing that comes to my mind, and I'm kind of going to throw an outlier here, is have you been looking into what Sam Altman's been saying about nuclear data centers potentially going there? And so that made me think, okay, I'm not saying let's go double down on nuclear power plants, but what I am going to say though is, what about uranium? That is
what about uranium? You're seeing it make a lift. Yeah, you're seeing it make a lift. And then Trump's mentioned recently, right, on nuclear reactors, thinking about taking that off, right? Letting smaller nuclear reactors really be something that is a conversation. And why is that coming in? You're 1000% correct. It's for AI, right? That's what they're looking at it for. And it slowly moves into kind of the era that will be coming after, I think, all this AI, which will be more the quantum computing that we'll get to, right? That's way down the line. That's probably more like 20 years out. But for right now, there's so many different ways to maybe draw on the AI trade. That's not the Chat GPT. That's not the phone feature, right? Those are good. But to me, that's a commodity. That's not a driving revenue to the bottom line feature, right? It's going to be something that really changes things, right? The way that we function. So that's why I look at autonomous. That's why I look at robotics, right? If it could start doing my laundry, trust me, I won't be mad at it, right? I mean, those types of things can really change the impact of everyday life, thus being a big thing to invest in. So great conversation, Ash. I love this conversation. I love talking about these things too, because industries and sectors outlook is what I think the only way truly for retail to still have edge, right? Because bigger investors can't come in immediately to these type of mentalities and like nuclear plays just immediately, but retail can. And we can try to position ourselves ahead of the industry rotations and the sector-wide rotations. So I'm all about trying to capture intermarket analysis, right? Looking into which sectors and industries are getting hot, and does that line up with what's coming in the next couple of months, right? Yeah. So like, let's say right now I got some swing shorts on Macy's. I got a long on Caterpillar. And why is that? Well, interest rates come down, should have helped Cat and start to sell more of their high-end goods, right? And then
actually, I'm glad you brought up Caterpillar, because I'm a big fan of infrastructure. So not to get too much into politics, but if you look at the last campaign if you look at President Biden's campaign, and if you look at, I'm assuming what VP Harris would want to do, they always talk about infrastructure. This whole the bills, the bills that got recently passed. What does that do? That's infrastructure. That's why brands like Caterpillar, from an ETF standpoint, look up PAVE, PAVE. That's another one. That's pretty much the U.S. infrastructure. I think there's a wave riding there, literally a wave on your screen. I literally see this. And
when we get these long periods of sideways, same thing on the XLI, right? What does that leave room for? That's the big money. Big money give big money the chance to really load in there, right? When you get sideways period of, let's say, like this, from April all the way to August, just sideways period, that gives more than enough time for them to get their buying programs in there, build up a big position, and then see the infrastructure take off as interest rates come down and the growth comes back to the market, right? And I think that that's one area that we can definitely look for trades. Ash, I've been talking about that. Even a non-sexy trade right now, like CSX, like railroads, right? I mean, it's nothing that, is the biggest talked about things, but I'm seeing these as opportunities right now. Because I
think the railroad strike, obviously on a personal level, I wish the railroad strikers good health, and I hope everything works out for them. But from a market standpoint, there is going to be a potential opportunity, because less business, less productivity, stock goes down, boom, buy at a lower price. Don't you think?
Yeah. There's the opportunities there. And if we are going into more of a industrial period where we're going to be making more, doing more, right? Well, guess what? We don't really have infrastructure other than the railroads. Yeah. So they're going to get used, man. regardless if there's battles of labor or not. And that's why I'm looking at these as interesting trades right now, even like a UNP, different ones there, guys. And these aren't the sexiest, but the truth is they're not going to also disappear tomorrow. So I like these outlooks. I like looking into this space. Railroads I'm looking at. And with that even said, I think what's really started to get things going is this aerospace and defense run that we've been seeing just as of late. And so that's where we're seeing it right now. And that's what's kept the XLI up how it is right now. And so all we got to do is see the other areas really take off, right? Like GE, diversified industrials. Can that take another leg higher? If that can go higher, then now you got your diversified industrials moving. And then, of course, the leader in kind of Deere and farm and heavy construction. This looks to me like it wants 400. And if it can get that 400 run, you can look at the weekly. You can see that trend line right above that, looking like it wants to make that run. Deere makes that run to 450. I think you got the XLI way off of this highs. And now you're starting to look back and being like, well, maybe industrials was the play going into the year, right? So we'll see what happens with that. Any last comments there on the industrials, Ash? And then we'll move back to some plays that are moving.
Yeah, no, I think the industrials are a smart move personally, because if you look at sectors like Deere, if you look at the infrastructure, if you look at all these things, right now there's just, look, the U.S. economy is a consumption machine, and all these industries are affected by the industrial. So I think what you're saying is smart. Yeah,
and I'll be watching to see if that continues to show. And we'll continue to watch to see different areas to see if they show up. And if you guys have a sector or industry that you guys want to talk about, always just throw it up in the chat, because I think that's the most important thing that a lot of traders can help themselves. You know, one stock moving is one stock moving. But when you can get a whole industry-wide type of move, well, then you can look at the names. There's sometimes 20 names, and 18 out of the 20 went up. Wow. So if 18 out of the 20 went up, well, the truth is, I don't really need to be worrying so much about being a stock picker at that point, right? And I think that that's what I like to try to find my edge. If there's really edge where I feel like I find it, and a lot of that will be in swing trading, because you can go smaller size and let the volatility kind of work itself out. That's where the edge is, guys. That's where I think we still have abilities to beat the computers, right? Because the computers are hard. I still do these kind of smaller pennies trades here that kind of show of how you can go after that. The truth is where there's edge, where bigger money can be made, where you can have bigger accounts and make money. It's in understanding rotation, right? Because if you can do that, you can start to really make some good money. Like a lot of the trade right now, an interesting trade in the next couple of days will be what happens in Nvidia, and then how does that affect growth stocks in a name like ARKK, right? Because if Nvidia takes a wipeout, well, then a lot of these growth names that are in ARKK could see the reversal right back down. Look at the momentum you've seen in a name like Roku, right? That's a growth name. It's viewed upon like a momentum name, and look how it just woke up out of nowhere. Just literally just woke up, and now it's just driving up to the upside, just filled a gap. And that tells me more and more. Yeah, growth names tried to wake up. It was what they called a dash for trash, right?
Yeah.
As soon as Powell gave that comments in Jackson Hole, everyone did the dash for trash move, right? Where it doesn't matter what the fundamentals say. You're just looking to see what is a momentum play and what can get the volume and lift. So that's why you saw Roku kind of get that lift. You saw Zoom take off, right? I mean, Zoom's not going anywhere, guys.
Everyone's off Zoom.
Even Kathy's off Zoom. So yeah, that tells you something.
It does.
But it also tells you something that this jumped 26% in like the last week or so. So that just goes to show me, right? And that's why you always have to stay in that conversation. Growth, value, rotation, risk on, risk off. Those types of moves can really make you money. All right, guys, let's take a peek into the market here. I see the Qs kind of trading sideways on the downside of action. Yesterday, I was really feeling a little bit more of that bullish action. Soxel was one of the mentions on the playbook, and Soxel was a beautiful play yesterday, right? Just down to 36, recovered, red to green, and now holding strong. So I think we need to kind of watch to see if we go down to that level, right? Because this looks kind of like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders. So you could go back to 37 and then try to find a bounce there. So I'd be watching to see what happens today with those tech names. I think you might get a washout attempt, right? Because I think a lot of traders are probably making bets on Nvidia. And one of the easiest ways to start washing out those options traders is just make some downside action come in, right? Because then the premium starts to get hit. All those options that were bought yesterday start to be underwater. And then I'll look to see if there's a move back towards the end of the day. That's what I'm going to be looking for. So wash out some traders, wash out some bulls, and then let the bulls that want to take the earnings swing start to drive the stock back towards, let's say, maybe the last 2 hours of the market day. I'm looking for something like that. Of course, we'll see what happens in the action today, but for it to hang out up here tells me more and more how the bulls have been loading. Now let's see if they try to get an attempted washout move. So let's say it comes down to this 124s or 123. Yeah, a lot of the people that have been in since, let's say, Tuesday the 20th start to wash out, right? And that's what I'm going to be looking for a shakedown and then a move back up. We'll see what happens there.
Talking about Nvidia for a sec, I'm not sure if people realize this. If they do, then I'm going to remind them. Nvidia has such an impact on S&P 500. Like if Nvidia goes up, S&P 500 will make some moves, and I think that's something to really take notice of. So if you're saying right now that like, hey, let's look out for Nvidia, I would recommend you also then look at the overall macro S&P 500 indexes, because there will be some movement. I'm not saying it's up or down, but I'm just saying that that's the influence that Nvidia has. I mean, both from earnings, both from revenues, both from all those things. I mean, there is a chart that can show that the representation of Nvidia's impact on the overall S&P 500. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's something to watch. You can watch also like indexes and ETFs like SMH, right? Mm-hmm. As a good indicator.
One of my favorite ETFs. It's one of my favorite. You know why? Because that has 22%, if I'm not mistaken, exposure of Nvidia, and that
you got it, my friend, right on the nail. Yeah, and I think I watch that all the time, right? It's one easy way to look into tech. It's actually a better way than I think even the Qs sometimes. But always, whenever you're going into kind of weighted outlooks, always keep that in mind, right? And I think that's an important thing too. So, like if I'm trying to trade Nvidia, but not trying to take that much exposure, this is an easy way to do that too, right? And at least you're not taking that much exposure, 100% exposure to Nvidia, but more 20% exposure.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I also think another factor that's going to help SMH is so the CHIPS Act was signed, right? And what are you now seeing in rural parts of America? You're seeing these factories getting built. Like Intel's getting something, AMD is in negotiations. There's all these different companies that are benefiting from these potential chip factories in America, and that's going to move the overall sector of semiconductors to a certain degree. So that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I'm such a big fan of SMH, because of all the different macro plays that can happen because of macro impacts like the CHIPS Act and things like that. So yeah, be on the lookout for SMH. I'm a fan.
Like always, Mustafa in the chat talking about remember to stick to your golden rules. Like always, guys, stick to those rules. Let's stay disciplined today. Like always, I talk about it. Discipline is not something that's given. It's actions that are taken, guys. So keep making those actions.
I like that.
Stay disciplined today, guys. All right, Ash, if you'd like, you can share your charts. I don't know if you want to go ahead and share charts. You can also kind of just share at the bottom. You can hit the present button. But if you have any outlook on any stock you want to bring up here, feel free, my friend. The floor is also yours.
I want to go back to, if you don't mind sharing on your screen. Let's talk about for a second. Let's go back to uranium, URA. That's one of my favorite ETFs. From an expense ratio, it's pretty low. But if you look at the trends right now, and you look at, you brought up, we talked about the impact of AI potentially and how people are looking at nuclear, but look at other sectors that can benefit from nuclear. Look at crypto. Okay, so, I like your analogy about, there's this retail external hype about AI. But what is behind the scenes can benefit. We talked about nuclear. I'd also argue with all the crypto mining, they need to consume a lot of energy. Where are they going to go? They're going to look at sources like nuclear too. So I think behind the scenes, you're going to see URA benefiting from the Bitcoin mining and all the not just in the U.S. but globally. So, and that's what I like about URA. It's global. I really am paying a lot of attention to uranium right now. I'm like, I think it's the energy gold in some ways.
Not a bad one. One that I look at in kind of trading similar to these is I look at CCJ. CCJ
URA has a good representation of that. Yeah.
Nope. CCJ is a good trade on that one. And then another one that I'd take a look at is SMR. All right. So SMR is one that I'll give you for your smaller nuclear kind of outlook, right? If this is going to make the move, this is the one that I'd keep a watch on. And a lot of this is it's on a nice little downtrend here. And what is it doing at the bottom? It's going sideways, giving the ability to buy off that 8. So now you've hit 8, 7, 98, 801. You went down to 817 just yesterday. Undercut of that 8 is a beautiful look, because what that does is it essentially washes out those people that just hit the really short stop at 8. It cuts those down, takes the volume, and now starts to move back up. So I'd be interested to see if this wants to make a move to 9 and 10 now on the next couple of days. Interesting stock to take a look at. And then another one that will be moving with this one, right? NNE, Nano Nuclear Energy. So very similar stock in the same space, in the same mentality of what they're trying to accomplish. And look at the volume that's come in the last couple of days. That was the Trump volume day right here. The Trump comments right there on that Harmy. And then now you haven't broken the 9, gone sideways here, given the ability to like hold on those levels. I'd look to try to see if it undercuts that, right? Go back towards 10 and then start to come back towards 11 and 12. And then it looks prime for this 14 to the left-hand side. So I think these are all trades to definitely keep your eyes open for, and doesn't seem too bad at all on NNE and SMR. And with that mention, that's why you're seeing the underlying asset like uranium moving first, right? So the underlying assets usually move first, and then what uses the underlying assets usually move after that, right? And so that's what I'd be watching. Uranium to continue pushing strong, and overall basic materials as a whole group sector has been hot, has been an area that I got to continue to watch. Look at the last 2 weeks. And a lot of this that I use TC2000. It's kind of old charting service, Ash. But the truth is that why I like it, they have their own indexes, and they're all equally weighted. So this helps me just see where the trends really are, right? It doesn't tell me where the leaders are, but more along if the overall sector or industry is making a move, not just a heavily weighted area in the market. So basic materials, if I take a look at it weekly, what's up for the week? Coal, steel now trying to catch up. And these were all the ones that were hurt, right? So the laggards in the sectors are starting to catch up. You got to look at the leaders start to take the lead, right? And so that's one thing that I take a look at. So one way that I do that is I do the industries by month, right? And you take a look at that. What's up for the month? Gold, of course. Aluminum.
So speaking of gold, there's an ETF that I'm hot on right now called Glitter GLTR.
GLTR. All right. Interesting one here. I like this.
Yeah. It gives you it's similar to SMH, or it gives you a representation of Nvidia, but not all in gold. It's like, I think it's like 25 to 30% gold representation, but it also has the other, you're seeing it right there. Yeah, look at all that. Gold, aluminum. There's a lot in there, but yeah, it just keeps going up. And I think this is a recession-proof play right now, because
it's an interesting play.
I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, I want to see a little bit more of the holdings here, so I'm trying to look it up right quick. So let me just pull it up, give a quick look into this. It's interesting. It has precious metals, right? You're going to have a bunch of different areas that this can kind of grab. I'm trying to see here what the kind of the holdings are. I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it here. Like always, a little research can go a long ways, right? So let's see what we got here. So we got the overall. There's the fact sheet. All right. Weightings is 60% gold, 30% silver. You got some palladium and some platinum exposure.
Yeah.
Interesting, though. I like the mix of the baskets, right? Of course, basket approaches are something that I definitely believe in. And I think that this is something that you definitely can look at. Of course, we've been talking about GOLD's move from 17. So we were looking at this pullback right here when it came back to 17s, looking for the move back to 18 and 20s. And it did that move. Now the question is, can it reload at the 9 and do another move to maybe 21s? I've been jumping on more of the aluminum play as of late, and it still hasn't really made the big jump. So I'm looking at that, like the CENX, Alcoa. We were talking about this kind of 34s, and we just got above it, now coming back into that space. So I'm watching aluminum. As I heard more mentions of aluminum shortages out there. Porsche gave an outlook that they were struggling because they couldn't get aluminum. So, hey, you never know what can happen in basic materials. And that's actually a scary thought because that's more inflationary pressures showing up deep into the markets out there. But we won't get into talk of inflation. Supposedly, inflation was transitory again.
I know.
Jerome went all up on that transitory speech on Jackson Hole, trying to give himself a pat on the back after 2 years. But can't blame him.
It's crazy. If he sneezes, our economy will shift right or left. It's so crazy.
I thought it was so funny. He out of nowhere, he just started talking about transitory. That was so like, hey, I told you guys 2.5 years ago, you didn't want to listen to me. Everyone hit me so hard that I literally said that it wasn't transitory, and now I'm coming back to it. Now it was transitory.
Thinking about other sectors you asked me earlier, I was thinking about this. This isn't aligned with infrastructure. Let's look at housing. One that I like is ITB. It's I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it's a general housing play.
All right, guys, there's the market open. Let's get it, team. Let's see what we can come up with today, guys. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go focus on my swing trade outlooks, guys, because GDS, big in the green here, guys. Going to go ahead and try to cover some on GDS. Been short this for a while now. Really looking to go ahead and take some profits here, at least maybe like half of it here, and then look to see if I can break 16 today. Doesn't look too bad. I'm going to put out an order right now at 1620s, looking to take half of it off here. You guys see it up about 300 there. Let's see if I can get this down move here. I'm looking to try to take it through the 16 today and watch this collapse. This was a daily chart that I just felt was extended. Then started shorting off the highs there. We'll look to see if we go back to 15 today on that. Then also watching Macy's, going to watch Zoomies here out the gates to see what happens on that stock. It's trading up there towards the 28s. I could see this getting towards the 27s today. We'll see what happens in Zoomy. And of course, I'll watch A&F with that action. Let's get to it, guys. If you guys out there, let me know what you guys see. Get after it, team. Get after it.
There's actually a question from Future Day Trader Billionaire. He wants to know, is it a good strategy to trade the same 3 to 5 stocks over and over?
Talk about this. What do you think about that, Ash?
I think that if you are, I have this, I follow that bucket rule of, if you allocate 10+% on one sector across multiple sectors, you don't double down on just one sector and you average it out. I think you'll be okay. I think you have a higher chance because if it goes up, great, you make a little. If it goes down, you're not as burned a little. So I think if you diversify in sectors that are not connected to each other. So we talked about uranium, infrastructure, gold. What are the odds of all those colliding together? I don't see it. So I think that's a smarter move than going for uranium, nuclear power plants, electricity. So that's my suggestion.
It's not a bad outlook to think about. And like always, when you're trading the same stock, you will understand the patterns a little more. I think the most important thing is understanding kind of how the opening moves work, 15-minute patterns, things like that. It's going to be all about the amount of data you take on those stocks so that you understand what's working in those stocks and when it's working, right? Because it's going to move all around that. All right, guys, going to go ahead and take some profits here. Boom. Just took the profits there in the swing account there, just a little bit on GDS. Taking 161. Going to continue to let that work. Of course, opening price on GDS is $16.99. So I'm ways away from my entry. Now I'll give it the chance to really break down today and go into the 15 with that remaining 200, which could give me kind of another 400. Right? I wouldn't be mad with a nice little close to $600 gain on this GDS in just 2 days, right? So can't be mad about that. We'll see what happens on Macy's if that can keep coming lower, right? I'm looking for that to break 15 today. Got 500 shares from 1576. We'll see what happens on Macy's. Macy's, just to say it, Ash, I think it's another JC Penney's or Sears, if we want to call it that, right?
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to survive in the long run. I'm not talking from a stock performance standpoint, just as a brand standpoint. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know how it survives, man. I really don't.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go looking around. Let's go try to find some of the fast plays out there. Of course, there's probably already some jumping all around here. I'm going to take down the pre-market scans here. VRAX was a big move in the beginning in the pre-market. It's continued here. Big push there to $7. ASST, another one that's kind of making a little bit of a move there towards the 250s. This one's been moving since yesterday. Not a big move yesterday, but nice little push out the gates here. We'll keep an eye on that. AVPT, another one that I'm seeing move there. This is a quantum computing stock there. I remember even talking to the CEO of AVPT, AvePoint. It's not doing too bad. It's a prior SPAC. I will mention that. It's actually come back, right? I mean, nice little kind of rounding bottom looking chart. All right, looking around, guys, to see what's moving out there. If you have anything you want to mention, Ash, if you've seen any trends, you can go ahead and just kind of jump in. All right, looking around to see from the open what's trading in the green. I have just only technologies and industrial in the green from the open. Everything else red. Leading the downside action out the gates, energy, basic materials, and communication services.
Why don't we talk about Apple for a sec? Apple is making some. Apple is making some big moves. They made some recent. For them, cutting 100 service jobs is a big deal. For them, they're making some big moves. And overall, like if you look at their sales and whatnot, they're always someone to talk about. You can never go wrong with Apple, in my opinion.
I don't think you can ever go wrong with them either. I think right now you got to be looking to see when they're going to make their run, right? At the end of the day, they will make a run. I think the key is maybe trying to play out some of this Nvidia uncertainties, and then going into December, especially, I'll be looking to see if they can do like maybe some kind of special for their VR. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that also, can give them a little bit of lift.
Meta's been having a lot of activity too. As you know, they've been in the news as of late for political reasons. But if you look at the trend of Meta, it's been quite interesting too. Meta's been on an interesting ride.
Nvidia holding on right now. I'm looking to see if we get a down move in Nvidia to maybe play a little bit of some success for a quick little trade.
Nice.
So just watching Nvidia right now, seeing it sideways there. I see Apple strong. I'm looking at Google. Google's on a little bit of a pullback here. So if you feel like we're going to have a bullish day, this is not a bad pullback on Google to maybe see the move back to 167 here.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, I'm seeing a lot of red in tech right now. And it just went all red. So now everything's red from the open sector-wise, right? And I pay attention to that all the time. We'll see it like 9:45 or 10 to see if this changes. Right now, I'm seeing the weakness in stocks. S just jumped through that 2250s, so now I could take about 100 shares and look for a pullback to get in a little bit bigger. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a pullback here. I'm going to take a shot here already, guys. Long there, 2257s there. Only 100 shares here. Looking for a little bit more pullback back towards the 2240s and 2230s here to actually get bigger here. Let's see if we can go ahead and get after stocks S today. What's up out there, Michael? How we doing? Tuning in. Nothing like Michael tuning in, guys. You shorted the market a few hours ago. You didn't tell me, Michael?
Dang.
Getting after it. Michael said, I up and I Woke up in fire. I'm going after it, the dark side today. Q's coming down there, looking to see if maybe get after some of the retail names also. So watching this Sox ass, but also taking a look at some different names out there. So red here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Zoomies. Price is trading at. Yeah, problem with Zoomies is just the spread.
Yeah, it's a crazy spread.
Yeah, crazy spread. You know, those spreads are hard to trade. All right, now trying to recover the VWAP here. We held it now. Let's see if we can take this right back to the upside here. I wouldn't mind trying to get 40s on this little pullback here. Still hasn't hit there. Just went to 41. Looking for a little bit of a slight tick. Starting to take the lead here. Let's see if we start to push. Qs are down, trying to break through some lows, 75, 80s. Let's see if it breaks through that. Vox up. That was up earlier. Wonder how Chewy would trade today. I know they had earnings. Of course, we can take a look at that action. All right, just recovered that 2250s here. Looks like it wants to go. I'm going to go ahead and take another 100 shares there, guys. I got 200 shares, 2256. Looking to see if this wants to start to run towards the 23s. So not looking for a crazy run here, just looking for a nice little run to 23s, and then I'll look for a pullback right back to this area. There's a nice run towards the 2260s now. Pullbacks into the 50s could be an ad. I'm at 56 here, guys. So I'm going to give it a chance here to pull back towards like lower 52s. So now you kind of get this trend line approach where you're going to go and touch this, right? So you got your resistance. Now they tried to reload it here. Reloads will be closer towards 2254s. That's what I'll be watching for on pullbacks to maybe try to get in closer towards the VWAP for another ad, but really looking for the takeout towards 2275s. Pre-market highs, 2283. Yesterday, we were up there to 2280s, so I could see it, at least that being like the first kind of drive up there to 2280s. We'll look to see if we get all the way to 23. Zoomies. Zooms. All right, let's see. XRT. I'm seeing a lot of retail down. Like I talked about how Lulu, I liked that one just a little while ago, and now that you're starting to see these retail numbers and more concerned out there, you're starting to see that downside action. Gap. One that I talked about in the pre-market could be a nice short. That's already cut through the 2236. Looks interesting for me, especially if I could get a bounce back to the VWAP.
If we're going to talk about retail, I think we should talk about one of the all-time goats. They go up and down. Right now, they're having some hurdles. Nike.
Yes, Nike's an interesting one for sure. What do you want to talk about Nike? What do you think?
Well, Nike just recently, they're now changing their strategy. They have recognized that their sales have been just pummeling. They've lost in the market. And so I think in the next few months, you're going to see a huge shift to e-com. They're making a big play in e-com. And I just think now with the holiday sales coming up or Black Friday coming up, I think Nike has the potential to swing up. I really do feel that. Nike is, yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. That's not a bad outlook at all. And I something definitely to look at. Talking about how Foot Locker had interesting comparable sales, actually did pretty decent there. And it still went down. I mean, that just tells you more and more. It's direct to consumer. That's what completely wrecked Foot Locker.
Yeah. And Lulu's an interesting one. They have a colorful cult, if that makes sense. Their founder has said some interesting comments, and I feel like every time that the board separates themselves from Lulu, you see activity with their overall stock performance. That is a brand that cannot separate themselves from the founders' comments. The founders made some very colorful comments and stuff like that. But Lulu is you're seeing Lulu represent this like niche luxury retail. They're honing in on performance wear, and I think Lulu in the long run has such a big infrastructure and such a big foundation, and I think Lulu is going to stand out in the long run. I really see that. And their stock, I know it's been a little volatile in the last year or so, but don't worry. I would bet more on Lulu than Zoomies and some of these other brands, because they know their demo. And luxury retail, they're becoming a luxury retail brand, is what I'm trying to say. And those are faring well right now.
All right, just added there to Success, guys. Going to look for it now to hold that recent low, the 2240s. Going to look for that to hold now, take the move now. Got 300 shares. If it starts to go towards the 65s, can add another 100 shares. We'll look to see if this starts to make the push towards the upside. Biggest thing, I think, is watch the cues. You just put a wick towards the VWAP. If you actually claim VWAP again, that will probably turn this trade. But if we could take down the 475 on the downside on the cues, that's where you start to see it really start to let go. So we'll look to see if we get that downside take here. Nike, though, pulled back right now. We'll see what happens on that. Let's see how Chewy's doing. I'm seeing out there VNet, APDN. VRAX, of course, was one of the strongest moves this morning. It's back down to 7, though. Did go to a halt and then 750s. We'll look to see if that continues to move. Right now, I'm not in that one. Just taking a look at Success here right now.
Interesting.
All right, Chewy, nice move to 2830s. So that did get the jump.
If we're going to look at Chewy, what about the granddaddy of it, Petco, Wolf?
The Wolf. I don't know, man. Wolf doesn't want to get the love, man. I've tried to play that plenty of times, and I think it should have got the love plenty of times, but it just doesn't get it, man. I don't understand it, too, because they've made some pretty strong moves in the last couple of years that I think are very, very smart, like, teaming up with like DoorDash and things like that to get products delivered same day. I think those ideas were really smart. The only question is why they didn't get the Chewy love. I don't know, because the truth is if I want to get my pet items faster, Chewy's not really the faster way. It's actually slower.
I think this is actually a macro trend similar to why some retail brands are doing better than others. Petco has they're known for having in-store. They have stores, right? You look at Chewy, it's subscription, it's e-commerce based. There's a perception that if you're mostly an online focused business, from a perception standpoint, your market cap, your valuation should go up. Because you look at Petco, their market cap is only $900 million. Now, I know 900 million is a lot of money, obviously, but for a company like Petco, which has all that retail, all that storefront, to only have 900 million market cap is it doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's that perception of the retail, of having in storefront. Chewy doesn't even have storefront, and they're worth $12.17 billion as a market cap. And they have no storefront. Just online, pure play online versus Petco, which is, at least in America, they're everywhere real estate wise. So I don't understand it either.
On every corner.
Yeah, every corner. Literally, they're the McDonald's of like pet retail. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And the margins are there.
I know.
I don't understand it. And then, right, I've looked at the other ones, the private ones, also the competition like PetSmart and stuff like that. And the same thing. If anything, they make more margins. I think maybe the tighter margins that Petco tries to achieve is what affects them. But the truth is at the end of the day, I just don't see why they don't get the love, but it's not there right now. Looking to see if Success can make that move, guys. We did get that down attempt through the 475s there on the Qs. So feeling good and confident right now. I added to my positions, guys. I got 400 shares, 2256. Looking for the next move above this 2275s, going towards the 23s here to probably take the profits. We'll look to see if we get a nice little push, especially towards like the higher 2280s to 2290s. I wouldn't mind just taking the money and run. We'll see what happens on the downside action in Nvidia. That's the biggest sign. You see how Nvidia is leaking right now. I'll show you guys Nvidia's chart right here. Let's go ahead. I'll put it on one of these. take a look at Nvidia starting to leak, right? And I think that's one of the most important signs for the market right now, even more important than the overall cues. I'm just watching that Nvidia chart. There it goes lower towards the 127. Where could we find bounce on Nvidia? I'd be thinking about that on the hourly levels. So that's closer towards 126 and 125s. There's a nice push there to the 80s here, guys. Going to go ahead and sell out 300 here. Let's go ahead. Boom. Just took that. I put it a limit a little bit higher. Let me just try to get some out into the 80s here. I'm trying to get 300 out here and then just let the remainder work here. I think it could get to 23s here, but just trying to take some profits and run here. No profits just yet. Canceling my order, trying to get it back into the 2280s, and then I'm going to take some off here. See if I can get up in that 2280s again. Take some off. All right, looking for success to give one more kind of wing into that spot there. We got a high there of 2283s. One more run. 83 was the pre-market high. It hit it, stopped right there on success. So looking to see if that can take out that high here. I'll show you guys success as I go and take the profits here. Let's go ahead. Let's get that. Come on. I know I have it on another chart here. There it is. Wanted that. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Let's take some profits. Boom. Just took the cash there at 83s, 300 shares. Still got 100 shares left. At this point, I can leave the remainder break even. Set a stop loss. You guys see it right there. Set that stop loss. Now just let it work with the remainder 100. So this is now, I took the core of the position, right? The meat of the move, take myself pay. Now I'm up 200 on the day. And now can I let this position work? Like if it's just a collapse, it'll give me a nice little move. And the next move from here, I can look at the hourly charts and see where the next level is on the resistance. There's a first resistance right here at 2290s. That doesn't matter to me because I already took profits near there. So the next spot would be 2340s and then all the way up to 24s. I'll take it all out at 2340s. I got no problem with that. So already going to set that profit as we start to break through the 23s. I'll look for a nice little push towards like kind of 2330s, 2340s, even 2330s right now. I have the profit already out there. You guys can see it here. I'll show you guys it as I pulled it up. There's a target profit, 73 stop loss. At this point, can't lose on the trade. Just looking to expand the winning here and give myself a shot for a big breakdown. Of course, that could come with Nvidia going to that 125 outlook, and then you could have bounces. So Nvidia is down to 126.67s, and I was kind of looking for downside action in Nvidia today. So at least for right now, just continuing to get after it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, God, Nvidia, man. They dominate our day. They are the Jerome Powell of the stock market. They sneeze,
100%.
Everything shifts, right?
I mean, this company definitely got themselves in the limelight. I mean, for the amount of gain that they got, I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's be honest. There was a point in time when Nvidia used to trade, what, 40, 50 bucks? And we're talking pre-split, right? So if you look back, I still remember trading this back then when it was like trading at those levels. I mean, it's intense to see a move like that. AMD never got that love though.
Yeah,
got
AMD,
some love, but not the love that some people thought it would get.
You know, one of those potential ones is look at Intel. Like Intel's been dipping a lot over the last few months. But I think Intel, there's an opportunity there personally because of, A, the semiconductor high, B, they're going to benefit from the CHIPS Act. But yeah, look out for Intel. I think they're on the low right now, but I think, they're like the silver of that industry, if that makes sense. If Nvidia's the gold. So look out for Intel, in my opinion.
Agree. I'm looking right now to see potential maybe short on Gap. So looking at Gap right now, if it can get to the 23s, of course, I talked about this in the pre-market, how this had this nice little kind of sideways consolidation there. So it's trying to get back to the support where there was a little gap and then see the big shorters come in. So right now, I do think that some shorters probably chased right here on the first action where you saw that volume kind of increase towards the 24s. Now you're back above VWAP. Some majority of the times, a lot of people will short at this VWAP, and I've done that plenty of times also. But what I'm looking at is come back towards that support that you found, which was 23, and then use that as resistance. That would be the better short for me here. We'll see what happens in gap. Chewy up to 2870s, looking around to see what else is out there. Down to 470.40. So that was a good outlook for the cut down there. And also be trading that with like maybe SQQQ or something like that. If I look at the industries, remember I talked about we pay attention to see what would go green, right? Everything was red. Now what's green is very important. Financial services leading. Nice takeoff there in financial services. So you'll see names like JPM up, Berkshire up, MasterCard, Bank of America up 1.24, Wells Fargo even up 1.5. So big day there for financials, getting a nice little jump. Industrials getting a jump. And what do you see moving? Your GE baby. There's a nice little push to 172. That's breaking out of the 9 EMA, holding that 9 EMA on momentum. Now starting to go up. And the cat's out the hat, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Caterpillar getting up there. Nice little moving cat. Of course, I still got that on the swing. So feeling good about that, guys. Look at that nice little breakout here, guys.
Yeah. All about
there
that
we go. I've been watching for that for a while. Big part of this will be if Deere can get to 400. And I'm talking about that because look at the action you're seeing in Deere today after yesterday's collapse. That's how they do it to you guys. They shake you and then they bake you as it comes right back.
Yeah, I know.
They do that all the time to you guys out there. So, hey, I definitely keep an eye out on that move to see what happens also in industrials overall. But if you look at the XLI, look at the shoot up. Look at that.
Wow.
And I think this is all going to be what? Money rotating out of tech going towards this play of the industrial play that's going to happen into next year. And this is what can also keep the market in a bull market, right? So how do we keep the market in a bull market? Well, I don't think it's going to be tech continuing to drive things. It will be an industrial play, like America's making stuff, right? And that could be the way that you continue.
Yeah, diversification. Yeah, like people are taking their profits. People are investing in other industries, whether it's industrials,
and broadening out, right?
Broadening out. It goes back to fundamentals. You don't. Sorry to interrupt. It goes back to fundamentals. You don't over invest in one sector. You diversify. It's like the simple Warren Buffett school of thought. It always works at the end.
Yeah. And it does. It has a tendency. I sold the XLU after holding it for 21 days, but it's continuing today. So it took a stair step back, but look at the 9 EMA climb on that XLU, XLI going pretty high here, but look at the XLU overall also tells me more and more. They're just seeing interest rates go down, and that's just on that nice steady climb, steady climb, rotation into those names. Why? Because interest rates were coming down. Interest rates really, and when the interest rates come down, what borrows the most? A lot of these utilities, right? They're essentially debt cows, right? They're just full of debt. And a lot of that is when you start to take the pressures off of them, they look a lot better when you start to do, your financial analysis numbers. And that's why you're seeing that continued uplift. So we'll see what happens. I know Wisdom was talking about shorting Duke yesterday. Watch out. Duke coming back, man. We'll see what happens on that. But it's been an interesting day already, guys. Still in success, still in the green. Watching this work here, guys. Guess where it's at? Almost 23s, right? Almost taking that level to the next move here. So, and another thing is, I could keep trying to trade right now. And I see other trades that are available to me. But a lot of times I've been learning this more and more. When something's working for you, don't go open up something else, right? It's working for me right now. Until I see the trends change or give me abilities to look for pullbacks, for right now, just let the trend continue to drive. A big level will be watching 9 EMAs. I always look at the 9 EMA for momentum continuation. And right now you're touching it on success. It's at 2287. I do have one chart that has this, so I'll put it on this one so you guys can see the 9 EMA. So you guys see it here. I'm going to go towards a 1 minute though, because that's more long. When I'm in a stock and I'm just looking to see the momentum continue, I look at this one. You see how that light blue line or that blue line here is just holding it to the key? As long as I don't close below that, I can continue to ride the trend higher. And the reason why I use the 9, I've talked about this plenty of times, it's part of the MACD the moving average convergence divergence, which is a big indicator that a lot of traders use. And it's an indicator line in that. So I watched that. And so now you start to get that down cut, right? Do you recover it? A lot of traders will cut out as soon as it cuts there. I'm looking for the close on the 1 minute, not necessarily the wick. So you see how you start to come right back, and you can always just recover that and take the 23s. A lot of times when these do these 9 undercuts, that's where a lot of traders try to add. So when you undercut that, they add there and they hold to break even. So we'll see if this goes back to the VWAP. VWAP is 2260s and I'm at 2256. You guys see the stop loss already set there too. I could take it off and try to just do it mentally. I'm also looking for opportunities. So not looking play right now. We'll access can continue. Got that close underneath that 2278. So at this point, I can move this up here towards like 2270s and make sure that I'm in the green no matter what and looking for the expansion move higher. But if it doesn't happen, I just take the little green and keep moving on, guys. Let's keep playing. VRAX, one that's pulled back to the 7. Looking around, guys. I'm going to start taking a look to see what other opportunities are in the market. One that I'm watching right now, Gap. Gap just made that touch towards 2297. So I'm looking for one more click through that 23, which would create a third attempt to go through 23s. And then I'll look for it to turn back around to go hammering on Gap. See what happens on that. That's going to be this chart here. I'll show you guys it. So you see how it's come back to the 2295s on the 1 minute. It's kind of hitting that and then looking to try to get through that 23s, looking for 23 rejection, back down through 22s. It's not a bad one to look at today. Definitely do like it. I'll look to see if Macy's kind of leads that action also. See if JWN gives up the gains, right? JWN report really wasn't a bad report, but when stocks start to show weakness on good reports, that's a good sign that we're starting near the top. That's what I'm seeing in also JWN. Did a nice little blow off like bull trap out the gates here towards 23.23s, and now starting to come right back down. I'll look to see if this comes down also. Does Chewy end in the red today? That's something to think about also.
Chewy, it's amazing.
A stock that had A&F's report really wasn't bad. I don't think it was a bad report. The report was actually decent. If I just try to be like, objective in what the numbers were showing me. Of course, I was looking for short side on Abercrombie, but I'm not going to act like it was bad. If I actually just stay objective, the report really wasn't that bad. To see this type of hit tells me more and more recession concerns are out there. Whether someone wants to mention it in CNBC today or a week from now, the recession concerns are still out there.
You know what's crazy about Abercrombie? 1 year growth, 185% growth. In 1 year. 1 year. It's crazy. They were trading a year ago at 49.51, and now they're at like 141 and change, give or take. It's crazy.
There's success, guys, through the 23s, now towards 2307 and continuing to climb. I'm taking off my stop loss there, even taking off my target profit here to see the momentum into the move, to see where it goes to. We'll see where the next wave drives us to. Nice big volume that came in there, 500,000 shares on that push back through 23s. And look to see holds 2280s now and watch continue to climb. Big sign will be to watch for Nvidia to continue down. If you want to see success continue, I think you start to see Nvidia go to 125. Let's see if it goes to that 125. A pretty good bunch up here around the 126.40s. Let's see what happens now. Do we start to drive back? Because that drive back can be quick, and keep that in mind for success. All right, guys, going to go ahead and set a stop now towards 2280s. So just moving my stop up in success and trying to get that cash, baby. Get that cash. All right, Ash, if you want to stick around, feel free to stick around. I know it's going towards 10 o'clock. If there's anything you want to wrap up in the market and kind of give an outlook of what you're seeing, hey, feel free, my friend.
No, it's been a pleasure. I think we summed up what I've been looking at. I've been looking at things like uranium, looking at things like gold and precious metals. I liked what you said at the end to sum up. The market is moving outside of tech. Look at other industries that could be affected and spread out your money. So I like that. I like your philosophy, man. It's been a pleasure being here.
No, it's actually been real fun, man, and I liked your approach, and I love bringing a little bit further out approach, right? I think a lot of traders that sometimes trade with these bigger accounts tend to focus on some of the smaller caps, but there's really nothing like understanding the edge and rotation. I think that's so important, especially for swing traders out there that like to kind of move in and out of things and kind of work on that. I think that's what's done me the best. If I look in all my trading, where I've seen the biggest kind of gains go towards is trying to stay with understanding of what sectors, what industries are getting hot. And if you can catch that, you can catch, like I've talked about, when you get industry wide moves, there's nothing like it. It really does help you out because you hear this quote all the time. It's a quote that's said all the time that when the tide comes, it can lift all boats. And that's the one quote that I try to stick to in understanding the edge in that rotation. Because when the tide comes in, guess what? It doesn't really matter, man. It lifts all the boats. I think that's a big, important approach to kind of understand and get a hold of. Thanks for joining us today, Ash. I'll definitely bring you back, my friend. It was fun to trade with you, and we'll have you back on. A lot of love in the chat for you, too. Even my man Hot Potato out there giving you some love. So have a good one, Ash. We'll bring you back on. Take care, my friend. All right, guys, that was really fun to have Ash on today. We'll definitely be talking a little bit more about that action intermarket analysis. But later today, I'll talk a little bit more about some psychology. We've been doing a little bit more psychology talk. Overcoming trading bias is what we'll talk about today. It's so important. I already have a bias, right? It was to the short side of things today. Let's see if it changes. Got to be aware and pay attention to what's happening. A lot of love in the chat there for that conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation and realize, right? Where great minds think alike is so important. Understanding that is a big outlook, guys. All right, let's get back to the market. There is one stock that's making a move that I saw make a move this morning, BOF. So this thing just got halted, guys. I will let this on alert there, guys. Just all halt there. Let me go ahead and kind of reshare here, give you guys back to my main screen here. And like always, guys, let me know if you guys like the multi-screen more than my main screen. At the end of the day, I try to give you guys what can help you, right? At the end of that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm going to continue doing. All right, let's take a look here, guys. BOF just went to a halt at that 123s. This thing was moving in the morning. It had gotten through $1 and it came from 70 something cents. So the next thing is, I think this gets towards that 130. So be careful out there. There's a gap to fill and could keep coming down right after that. We'll see what happens on that. Let's go to SOXAS. It's continuing to work here, guys. Not a bad trade at all. 2309 now, starting to take the 23s, held the 2390 pullback. So with that being said, I'm riding up my stop loss here, guys. Now we're towards 23.15s. If I can make a run here to 23.30s, I don't mind taking the trade off and running with the trade here. Let's see if we can get it back through the 23s, and I might just have to run. But for right now, look at that move. Nice little push there to 23.15. Can we get to the 23.30s here? I don't mind taking that $74 and running here. So let's see if it can get there. Just threw out the order at 23.30s. There's 22.22s. Can we get to the 30 spot there? Can we get there? I'm going to bring it down just a slight bit there towards the 26 here, trying to get hit at the 26 there. It got to 26. I just wanted 1 cent more than that. Let's get it, guys. Let's see if I can get this cash here. You guys see it right there, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Give me that money, man. All right, so I'm pulling off there towards the 33s to give it a little bit of some rest. Sometimes I give it this kind of little cushion, right? So I take it a second off there. I'm going to take off the trade there. Get ready to take the cash here. But back to the levels that I'm looking at, and I think this is an important outlook to find, guys. If you guys don't do this, I think you guys should look into it, right? And I'm not telling you guys exactly how to trade, but I definitely do this. If I can't get my trigger hit there at 23.26, I'm waiting for it to show up here, maybe on the bid side, and then I could just mark it out. So instead of putting the limit, I'm going to go for a market out into the green. So into the drive, I'll hit the market. So let's go. Let's see if this can get there towards that next step. Looking at Nvidia to see if it can take another leg lower. It's down towards 126.40s, bounced off of that layer. I'm looking for another downside action wave. It went towards the 126.66, but now trying to recover 127. So be careful. If Nvidia starts going back towards 127.60, I might just take the money. It's not giving me that lift. I'm keeping a close eye on it. I don't want it back through 23s. At 23s, I think it comes back to my entry, 22.50s. So about to take the money and run here, guys. Got to respect that 23. So I have literally hand on the trigger here. Back towards the 15s. Let's go. Let's go. Give me that nice little lift towards the 23.30s here. Stock's pulling back. Nvidia's back towards 127.40s. I need to see that candle go red in the next probably 10 seconds here. If not, I'll probably get that downside action through the 23s. There's 23.12 showing up here. Hands on the trigger, ready. 27.40s rejecting there for Nvidia. Let's see if it goes through that. There it goes through it. Is it a wick through? Let's find out. Back down. That's actually a good outlook. So rejected the 27.40s there. Back through the 27.40s, let's say to 27.50s, and I'm just taking the cash. So watching Nvidia trade off of this, right? And you can actually add Nvidia on this chart, right? So let's say if I just wanted to add an overlay here of Nvidia, I can do that, guys. I could actually do that so that you guys could see that action. And I'm going to do it as a line here and do it as a dark red line here so that you guys could see it. So this is Nvidia overlaid on top of things, right? This is, you can do this right on Trade the Pool, right? Where do you guys get this, guys? Nowhere else, man. I'm telling you, that's a nice little overlay feature. I do this on TC2000. I can do it, but not similar to this. I like the way it looks. I like how it has a little like line that's moving up and down. So this tells me more and more. This comes down, this goes up. So essentially going away from each other is what I'm looking for here on Nvidia. So this coming down and this going back up is what I'm looking at here. There's Nvidia coming back down there towards 127. So that's a good outlook. Should see this line start to head down now and look for this to break back towards the upside there. Not a bad outlook here today on Success. I hope you guys were able to nail some of the trades out there. VIXI was also on my watch. Didn't take the VIXI, but we made a couple of spikes there. I'm going to keep an eye on the VIXI later today. But right now, Success is what's working for me. Let's see if this can continue to work. All right, here's that drive here now, guys. Getting that drive, but I'm also seeing Nvidia hold here. I want to see it cut through that 127. But here's 23.14s, 23.15s. Can we get back through that 23.30s? We'll see if we get one more drive up there, going to the next level. Gap rejected that 22.96 back down to 22.60. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get gap today, guys, but I'll just keep riding on this Success and then reassess here. But not looking too bad. Up about 206 on the day, looking to push, maybe get towards like maybe 600. But right now, just trying to secure the bag, man. Secure the bag. Let's go, dart trading. Let's get it. What are you guys looking out there, guys? If you guys have any trades you guys want to talk about, throw it up in the chat. See a lot of you guys joining in on and YouTube. Like button, hit that share. Let everybody know this is where it's at, man. We've been on point lately. I'm trying to stay on point. One of the number one ways you stay on point is not getting greedy, guys. So right here through the 23s, if it hits 23s, I'm going to get out. Back through 2750s there for Nvidia. That's a sign there that we need to get out. So hands on the trigger here. Yeah, we're starting to come back. I'm taking the money, guys. I could see that Nvidia coming back fast. And so with that being said, I'll take the money and run in success. We did a nice little write up, right? I added on the breakout, slow to the move, add on the breakout. Exactly that. Sell some on the move, sell some for the run. I like it. Really good approach here on success. Really well executed. Let's keep moving, team. Let's go. Let's go. Not a bad day. Taking that money with me today. You guys know where it's at. Sometimes you got to go ahead and walk with that money. Taking that money bag with me. Let's go. Let's go. Let's keep it going, team. Doesn't look too bad today, guys. You guys know where you're at. It's Trade the Pool. We got a lot more for you guys right here. I got more money to make. Let's go. You made money on that BOF? Get after it. Nando, you're looking at Google? Not bad ones as you start to see the bounce. So if Nvidia can really bounce, yes, you're looking good. And can this success continue to climb? Yes, it can. The biggest part is now watching Nvidia. So Nvidia is going to be a very, very big part to watch now, guys. So you can see how Nvidia is coming back to this 127.40s, has rejected the move now towards 127.60s, could go right back down towards red. So a lot of traders are trying to read Nvidia today. For me, I'm not trying to read Nvidia to trade it. I'm trying to use Nvidia to go ahead and get after other names. So if this goes red, I could short a breakdown on AMD. I could short Google, right? You're looking at Google up, but to tell you the truth, if this cracks here, it could keep going lower. And that could affect a stock like Apple that was green, could go to red actually. Chewy that was green could eventually go to red. We'll see what happens. BOF though, you said you went after. We're able to nail that one. 125, interesting name there. VRAX, of course, smaller name, has pulled back to the 645, 640s. We'll look to see if it catches another run back through. But taking a look at that right now, ASSST, that's catching a little bit of some love there at the 250s, but it's not a big move there. Just keeping an eye on it, guys. If you guys see any names you guys want to talk about, throw them up in the chat. We'll see if success can continue to work. All right, let's go take a look at the swing trade side of things. I haven't had a chance to really look at that, so I want to go ahead and watch it here. You guys can see I'm up decently there. GDS, though, did come back some. So I could add to this GDS short, but I'm just going to hold on to it, guys, and look for another takedown through the 16 later today. Macy's up back towards 1547 could add to this short, but I don't want to ruin my average. At this point, it's time to let it work. Cat was up big. It was up there over $100 there. Now pulling back a little bit there. Just keeping a close eye on when do I want to take some profits in Cat. Right now, it's not the time, right? But I'm looking to see eventually where I could take the profits. And I have such a small amount that I got to let this work. I think I even got an increase. So I'll be watching for some increases in Cat if I can get a nice little increase there. But if we can go back through yesterday's high, it'd be about 137. So might just take a small trade with this towards, let's say, 360s, which would be $250 there with only 20 shares. So I'm going to set that right now. Set it, forget it, guys. If it comes down below my entry, I actually want to get out and then get back in with a bigger amount. So today we'll see what happens in Cat. Could take the $61 and run. That's not enough for me right now. Q's trying to hold on there, but we'll see if Nvidia takes another leg down, right? You saw that rejection from the 2750s. Now can it get back through that level? Keep an eye on that. Gap 2270s. We'll continue to watch that to see if we get another leg down there. ANF down to 140s, starting to bounce. XCUR now giving me an alert there, guys. So here's a stock that's making a little bit of a move here. All right, moving back here towards the day trade side of things, guys. 252 up on the day. Going to continue to battle. I think XCUR just halted. Yep, halted there at the 262. This ripped up from the 228s. Strong move there in a biotech. There's ASST trying to come back there. It's an undercut and rally back towards 275s. Could go towards 3, right? That's kind of maybe the outlook, but I don't see too much more on that. GILD doing good today. Gilead, man, nice move in Gilead to the upside. How's gold doing? Not that great right now. Taking a look to see what's up in the last hour. Healthcare is up. Defensives is up, of course. So you're looking at Procter & Gamble up today. Dole making a little move off the 1619s. Was in the pre-market towards the 1620s. Might go for a scalp on Dole. But man, Dole's been a good one since we talked about it right here on Trade the Pool. Okay, so who's the trickster who turned off my alarm clock? Dutch Pro triple shot. That's 100% wisdom. Go for the quadruple shot, the 911 shot. Have you seen that thing, Wisdom? I drank that once. Oh my God. That was a little bit crazy. Gold dips buying. Let's go. What is your approach to take partials if on profits? How do I know that it is cutout time, like exiting all of the stock? It's a great question, Dart. What it really comes down to is understanding where you want to have your profit to loss ratio, right? Because the truth is, sometimes if we take too much partials, we're actually ruining that profit to loss ratio. So understanding, let's say, just keeping it simple, right? I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can. If I'm risking 10 cents to make 30 cents, partials should be closer towards that 30 cents and higher. So taking half out at 30 cents would be really smart, giving myself the potential to make 40, 50 cents on the move. But at that point, I should at least take profits, right? And so if the stock goes then 40, 50, 60, but then pulls back to that 30 cents and starts coming back to our entry, it's also aware time to maybe take the profits at that 30 cents, because what does that do? It solves the trade out. You no longer have risk, and you took the right risk to return. Even though you wanted to make 60 cents and get that expansion move, you didn't get it, and you didn't take profits up there. So now you got to take profits for profit to loss ratio mentality. That's the way I trade, and that's the way I want to trade, right? It doesn't always happen now, but that's the way I would think about it. So you can think about it like that, Dart, and then think about how you'll go about it, right? This is more something that you need to take a look at, your statistics, to see what it points to. It's good to see you guys all out there, guys. Let's keep going. XCUR had a 1-for-5 split. Yeah, that'll help it. All right, ADM doing well today, guys. So farming products doing decent today. You can keep an eye out on that. TSN is one that I've talked about a little while back on the daily, and look how this is starting to really move now. So Tyson Foods, defensive names, really making a nice lift. That tells me that ARKK probably coming right back down. Roku probably seeming like a short today. Yeah, right back down to the 69 to the 68, and could keep going lower. Right? We'll see what happens here on Roku. It's not a bad risk to see that 68 break here. Let's go towards different names out there. Let's take a look here. StockS back towards 2289. That tells me Nvidia is coming back. So we'll see what happens if Nvidia can reject and go right back towards 126. But definitely a red technology day tells me something. You're starting to see some washouts of all those bullish bets. Keep your eyes on a name like Apple that's still in the green. If this starts to take highs, you could see the market start to catch up. VRAX is something I'm looking at. 635s back down to 618s. Could bounce off of this level. Taking a look to see XCUR opened up already there, guys. So XCUR, let's take a look at that. XCUR towards 230s, 250s almost, and just came right back down. We'll see what happens on this one. Daily chart, next resistance move could be a 285 push towards 3. We'll see what happens if it can make that move. Here's a pullback back towards $2. It could halt on the downside right back towards 190s here. That's a scary, scary downside push to like go long in, because it very much could fall down towards 150 there. So I wouldn't take the $2 bet there, but that's my outlook. You guys make your own call there. Just went way too fast to that $2. Neon is lifting here, guys. This has continued to grind higher. So this is an interesting chart to go after because it's just a consistent chart, right? When things are consistent, that's going to help you find the move. Icon trying to recover 3. This is a shipping company. Doesn't look too bad to maybe make a little recovery, but nothing that I want to trade. AVPT trying to make a little lift there. Looking to see if maybe the XLI catches a little bid here. Goes right back towards the 130s. It was up there. Deer that has been strong. We'll look to see if we get some pullback action. Chewy's been really strong towards 29.36 now. MNKD Biotech trying to break through 6 and continue going. Daily chart on this thing actually not looking too bad. Has the next stop 640s. So let's see what happens with that one. It's hanging out there at the 6, trying to continue going and take that next leg. We'll see what happens in Mankind Corp. Doesn't look too bad there. It's just that I'd have to hold towards a scalp, like kind of 590s outlook. That's just what I see there. All right, looking around, guys, seeing defensive still up. Looking at what's up in the last hour. Healthcare, defensive, and real estate. Everything else in the red. Leading the downside is actually energy. So it's interesting to see that. Cyclical names definitely taking a hit there, guys. So looking for downside action. Department stores is where I see a lot of downside action for the year. So that's what I'd be watching for in department stores. JWN, Macy's, of course. I'm short on Macy's. We'll look to see if we get that next downside wave here. Dillard's. How'd Gap do? Bouncing here. We'll see what happens on that one, but I do think that that one is not a bad little fade out there. Stock test now back down to 2270s. So this could give me an opportunity to get this back down at the lows. We'll see if I'm able to take another trade on success, but it will be after I see weakness back into Nvidia. Right now, it's strength. So you could see a bounce back here, right back to the highs. So just be careful out there. The Qs are coming back right at the VWAP now. You can bet to the upside on VWAP, downside on VWAP. It's a one-to-one trade there. We'll see what happens, guys. All right, absolutely. At the end, you do the work, and the recap benefits beyond compensation. Yeah, definitely, guys. Got to do those recaps. Got to talk about it. Got to see where you really can make the next move in your trading. Look at this XCUR. Just got a 10,000 share buy there on XCUR, right around the $2 spot there. So definitely could make the move back up here. It's a scary one, man. You got to risk off the 190s here. I don't mind maybe taking 100 shares here and seeing if I can get maybe, 60, 80 bucks there. But man, it's a hard one there on XCUR. Did see that 10,000 share buy. That's the only thing that got me excited here, guys. I'm not going to take the trade. I think it was still a good trade, and I hesitated there. Should have taken the trade, but this is the signal right there. That 205, 10,000 share buy. So this is why I have it on colors. So you see that, guys? This is why the colors are here. So the colors are yellow if it's over 1,000. And I have actually all that algorithmic volume that's like 100 shares. I actually have it filtered out. So you see here, more than 999 is the only shares that are going to actually show up there, right? So 1,000 or more is what's going to show up there. And then you can color code it. I think this is also important, guys. Go to your color coding, set that up, color rows, right? color schemes, right? So you can see here, purple is anything over 10,000 shares. That's exactly what happened there. 10,000 shares back towards 230s, could take back towards 260s and threes. XCUR. I hope you guys enjoy me showing you guys things like that, because the truth is that a lot of traders won't show you that, right? Won't show you that that order went through there. Tesla just hanging out here, guys, as the market slows down a little bit here, guys. That's what's going on. The market's trying to take a little bit of an assessment about what's happening. All right, downside in tech, I see a Micron down 3%. All right, what's leading? I see financials were up. Now they're back into the red. So one thing that I do see as an easy trend here is that nothing is up or down more than 0.5%. So there is essentially nothing trending right now. Yes, you're getting moves back to the middle of the range, but right now there's nothing that's just completely trending in an area. The only one that I'd maybe give it is the one that's close to 0.5, which is energy to the downside. But that just goes to show you more and more how we're having a chop day. So what does that tell me? Take it easy, Mitch. Be patient. Be patient. Let the market kind of deal with stuff. And wisdom, I definitely do think the market needs one of those, but we won't talk about that. Let's keep going, guys. We'll see what else is out there. And the market does need one of those. I think all the government needs one of those too, but we won't get into that action. The bipolar market is all around, guys. Can we know if any single order of 10,000 shares or more on TC 2000? So you need to have what's called market depth data, right? So what you need to look into is, how can I get this data? There's different platforms that offer this. You're seeing the NASDAQ data that's coming through on the level 2 here, right? And what I would look into is if you can get access to the total depth book. So you can look into different actions here. You can actually get it from the NASDAQ themselves, right? But that's what I would look into. If you really want to take advantage of that, you can also look into one of our partners, which is Bookmap. If you haven't taken a look at Bookmap, well, I definitely tell you to take a look at it, guys, because that can be one way that you guys can definitely get an advantage here. And if you guys have, right, one of the bigger packages, you can actually choose this as one of your of our partners and actually get an account for a month, right? Check it out. I'm going to throw up the link here, right? I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just showing you guys it. You can take a look at it and maybe see a little bit more into market depth information. I wouldn't be able to see that on TC 2000 because TC 2000 is just a charting service. It is a brokerage, but I don't use their brokerage. So I don't go into that side of things. I just stick to what I see here. And the only thing that I would say that maybe I use a little bit is, you see those light blue numbers here. The light blue numbers represent the offer and the bid, but this is a different offer and bid sometimes than what we get through our trade the pool. So I focus on that and try to pay attention to see what's going on in the market. All right, guys, let's keep it going, guys. ASST is definitely still up at the 3, but it's not making a big move today. These smaller names just not doing it today for me. What was the one that I traded earlier today? Let me go back to that one. BSLK. Look at that thing back down towards 336. So the short and the pre-market would have been awesome, man. Would have been awesome. But hey, to each his own. Bolts Projects Holdings made a great trade on that. Can't be upset. Still seeing the shake in the market. No direction picked yet. So Nvidia still just hanging out at this VWAP. So now I can tell you guys about a strategy that I look at all the time. So it's called the VWAP fake out fade. So this is already faded off the VWAP. Now you come back above the VWAP. So you look to see if you fake out fade. So fake outs are going to be 3 or 4 attempts to the upside failing. So this is an up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2. You go back down 2 here. You create an up 3 here, right? So then now I'd look to see if we can create a down 3. Down 3 approach somewhere in this space. Bounce and go above. Above is the breakout to the upside. A fail around that level could bring us right back towards the 126. So this is your green outlook. And this is your red turn to the red side. There's always 2 sides of the trade, team. You got to know what sides of the trade you're going to be on, but also what side of the trade can happen here. So for me, that's what I see here. A nice kind of bottoming here. And if it just flushes through that coming towards the 127, I don't want to be in it either. So that's how I can see Nvidia working out for right now. We'll wait and find out, guys. How do you interpret market depth and the time in sales? Very important. So what you want to be looking at is what's showing up on the market depth. Is it filling in the time in sales? Sometimes you can even catch dark pulling action off of this, right? You can see that there's only 1,000 shares on the offer. But when you hit that number, you look at the time in sales, there's flow there. That's probably called an ice order, or maybe a pulling order that's filling in there, but you're not seeing it. So things like this are important to catch. Another thing that is important to catch is if you see a big wall, like I show you guys all the time here, where you see a big wall at, like, let's say it's at $2, 200,000 shares is out there. Well, I don't only want to see it on the level 2. I want to actually see that show up in the time in sales, right? So if I'm looking for the $2 breakout, right, and it's trading at 191 by 198, 7-cent spread, I don't want to see 191s hit in the tape. I want to see 198s hit in the tape. I want to see 198s on the time in sales, right? These are all signs you can look for to understand market depth. That's a big conversation, stay con, but I hope you enjoyed at least maybe bringing up a little bit of it, right? All right, guys, it's 10:34. At 10:40, I'm going to go ahead and take an assessment. We'll talk a little bit about some psychology. We'll take a look at the action to see if we can make another trade. I'm trying to let the market work itself out right now, and that's so hard because part of me is like, Mitch, you're in the green, go trading. But another part of me is saying, hey, let the volatility play out right here. Taking bets right here is 1-to-1. 1-to-1 is not what I like to trade, guys. Almost had a perfect day yesterday until the end. 26 out of 30. Lost about $14 at the end, made over 600. You got to ride those days when you can, future day trade. The key is also taking a good gain and calling it quits, or a small loss like you talked about here and then calling it quits. It's okay to keep playing. Maybe taking those take a small hit and then realize, okay, the get in is good. Now I got to get out, right? That's important. All right. Appreciate that. Definitely helped. Yeah, there's so much more with that stake on, but I would definitely look into that so you can understand it and understand that the time in sales is actual history. Orders filled and matched. Level 2 and market depth is just a look into open order book, like the open order book. So you're seeing it's inside the book, and then you're seeing what actually goes through the book in the time in sales. Very important. All right. Do you overcome? Let me take a look at this. I'm sorry, guys. I got to make it a little bigger. Do overconfidence causes the overcoming bias? Yeah, I agree with that. We'll talk a little bit about that right now. Overcoming the trading biases. Stay to that question. Keep bringing up multiple questions on this, Dart. We can even get to this right now. The Twins are doing good, even though I hear them right now. Future day trade. I think they're crying right now, but we'll wish Mama well. Let's keep going, guys. Let's take a look at what else is out there. Let's talk a little bit about some overcoming trading bias here. I'll talk about that in just a couple seconds. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what else is out there, guys. It's been a great day here. Going to go ahead and talk a little bit about how you guys can be dealing with trading biases, right? And so the first thing that we need to be thinking about when we're talking trading biases is explaining how cognitive biases can negatively impact your trading performance, right? So one of the things that I feel like happens often is that a lot of traders get into this mentality, almost guaranteeing losses, right? They're like just scared almost. This can happen easily if you keep losing and you lose your confidence. But we got to be focused that we're not losing ourselves in our trading biases, right? So one thing that's important is understanding what's called confirmation bias, right? So the tendency to favor information that confirms an existing belief. This can happen easily when you're going to set up a trade setup and then stuff is happening, information that confirms that belief, right? So you're seeing, let's say, a quick spike in a stock that you think can rip, let's say a penny stock. You're expecting that stock to make a big rip, right? So then as soon as it makes a big candle to the upside, the information is positive. So you actually confirm your belief that this stock is going to make a rip. So you go big, maybe too big, right? That's a negative to our trading bias, see? Because what we're essentially doing is we're letting that small bit of information confirm our bias, thus increasing risk, hurting ourselves in the long run, and negatively impacting our trading performance. That's the key here. It's not that you can't do this, is that it negatively impacts trading performance, right? So another thing, loss aversion. The fear of losing leads to poor decision-making skill. Tell me you haven't been the trader that has taken a small loss, maybe a decent sized loss in the first trade, and then from there on, you get scared of taking the risk, the real risk in the trade. So if you said you were going to risk $100 on each trade, you lose 150, but then the next trade, you don't risk that $100. You only risk $50 because you're scared of that loss. So what happens here is you start to be more focused on losing than essentially winning. So you're just trying to avoid loss. So loss aversion starts to click in and negatively impact your trading performance. There's two more that we'll talk about. One called recency bias, right? Giving an undue weight to recent event over historical trends, right? So historical trends work well. And I've seen so many traders talk about historical trends that kind of give you the advantage. This whole book is based on that, right? The Stock Trader's Almanac, right? It's historical outlook into the market of how things work statistically wise. But the truth is that recency bias can also make us take bad trades. Like there's certain months that are just good for the NASDAQ. And so did that mean I just go long on the NASDAQ? No, not necessarily. So you got to be careful with that outlook and getting too lost in the data. That could also be a negative. One thing to point to, guys, Nvidia starting to make that downside rejection. I drew the trade there. What happened? Rejection. Now you got to look to see if you recover this on a wick. So you could still have a wick here that recovers 127, but if you get 126.50s on a close, you could see that continued downside leak in the market. Qs coming down, success back to 23s. I could long 23s right here and try to scalp the next move, but I'm going to focus back on our conversation. Let's go back to it. Let's talk a little bit more about it. Of course, the last one, we just talked about recency bias. Let's talk about overcoming biases and journaling and reviewing past trades, objective analysis. So important. So if you want to start to overcome it, one of the biggest and most important thing is understanding our journaling, reviewing our past trades, and taking real objective analysis. Objective analysis like you just saw me do, right? Positive and downside look. What could happen on the upside? What can happen on the downside? Those are things that every trader needs to think about. No matter what, like I say it, There's two sides of every trade. There's the short side, there's the long side. So understanding that is going to have to give you a benefit of overcoming your trading bias. Another thing to think about, of course, is thinking about regularly checking for your biases and keeping your decision-making process as objective as possible. So it's okay to have mentalities of, hey, I'm looking for this stock to do this move, and then reacting based off of that. But it's not okay to just lose yourself in that. What I mean by that, right, is that I could easily see the action that was happening today in Nvidia, and I went after SOXS, but I didn't just go short the Qs, go long SQQQ, triple, quadruple, 5 times my bet on one side just because I'm getting that confirmation bias in my trade and the information is supporting it. Always what? Keeping the risk to return in mind, not getting lost in one idea. I talk about this quote and I live by this quote, and everybody should live by this quote. I feel like in trading, we won't let one trade make or break us. Very, very important. And you guys can say hi to Hendrix here. He's been hanging out. You know, sometimes he loves to trade with me. Sometimes he's not about it. But today, he's definitely about it. Shout out to the little Hendrix here. And we'll keep going. Shout out to all the little kitty cats out there that love to trade and hang out. All right, guys, let's get back to the stock market. See if I can make a trade before we get out of here. If not, I'll call it a day and take the 252. Sometimes it's about taking the smaller gains for the week and understanding that I don't need to push it when I don't see it. So hard. Don't push it when you don't see it, man. All right, let's see what else is out there. Do confirmation biases lead to tilt, or is it just underrated on how it affects your trading? It 1000% leads to tilt. That's what I was talking about, how you get into this point where I'm like, well, Nvidia is going down. The Qs should go down. SOXS should go up. SMH should come down. Things like that. Like when we get too much involved in things, then when things don't happen the way that we want them to happen, right? Our bias and what the information actually presents itself, we don't look at that information that's presenting itself as objective. We get subjective and we think, well, it doesn't matter if the Q's just made an up move. I'm still going to short it. Things like that can easily just get you off your game. So what's one way to kind of catch yourself is to do like moments where at certain times in your trading day, you should just take a second to review what you've been doing and how your mentality is. Maybe it's 9:40. You take 2 or 3 minutes and you tell yourself, hey, I'm just going to look into the market objectively, see what's going on in the market, and tell myself to take a reassessment. There's times in the day where I think reassessments of what's going on is very, very important. A lot of traders never take this reassessment from the pre-market, and they only focus on their pre-market biases that go into all their whole day trading. Not going to help us. Right now, I had a bias in the morning that Nvidia would come down, right? And the market would also follow that until the trade turns around, right? But now I'm just looking at the price action. I almost have to let that mentality go. I already played that and made money on it. Now that gets out the window. And the only thing that matters is if Nvidia comes back to break down the lows or if the Qs start to hold the VWAP. So taking a look at that mentality, take a look here. Let's see what we got. All right, you guys can see it. SQQQs up there towards 835, SOXS up there towards 2330s, 2347s, guys. So the pullback back towards my entry around the 2260s, 2270s is where I added, starting to make that nice little uplift. That tells me that the Qs are weaker. That tells me that Nvidia did do that down break through that level 126. So now I can start to take a look at even a gap short, right? This could be a scalp right here, trying to short this gap right back towards 2225s. Doesn't look bad at all for a nice little short here. I don't mind it at all, to tell you the truth. It's a scalp opportunity for me. Could take a look at a name like Zumi that I wanted to short, right? Let's see how the spread is now. The spread's from 84s, and I could see this really cutting back down, right? This could be kind of a swing short back towards 26. Things like that, I think definitely makes sense. Urban is one stock that is a kind of a apparel stock that could come right back towards this 35.29. I kind of like this one also. So let me take a look here at the 1 minute. We just cracked down. We were just above it. Nice little head and shoulders pattern. Just broke the neckline right here. So you could look for moves back to this level to short off of that. I wouldn't mind to see a little bit of like 37.14s, 37.10s, and then hammer on this urban. We'll see what happens. Can I get a little bit of a bounce and get this back down towards the 36.50s? Not bad. 50 cent outlook there. Maybe 20 cent risk. Things like this I can look at, right? We'll see what happens out here, guys. Chewy was doing strong, now starting to turn around. We'll see if that stock turns to the downside. ANF breaking another low there. We'll see if AEO goes through the low. And for that sake, can Macy's come down a little bit further? JWN holding above 22.19s. Maybe this is an opportunity to see and get after this one. We'll find out, guys. All right, VREX. I hope you enjoyed that one, Dart. I tried my best to give a great explanation there for you. All right, Hendricks just took a position in Gush. You see the Paul touching that mouse? Yeah, man. If he could open them, he would. VREX down to 629. Looks like it's fading off of that, though. Neon fading off to 7. Qs went down fast there today, man. Gap still hanging out this 2263s. Could really start to drop on the daily. Coming back towards 22s is what I see, is if we really go into like kind of a red in apparels today. '90s is kind of your risk there. So that's kind of the risk right now. Actually, I like this trade. I don't mind it at all. Would love to see one more bounce in the day, and then I can really kind of short it. Box is a cloud company that had earnings, has continued well. 31.74 nice recovery today on this thing. So if you're looking at something that's a little bit off of the market, not moving with the market, Box looks interesting at least. Could take 32s today. Whatever happened to Tempest AI? Oh, that's what happened, Mitch. It's on the pullback. Look, this thing breaks down 60 tonight. StockS, another move higher. 23.50s now in StockS. Did Apple stay strong there? Apple's starting to go red. That's a sign of concern there. MRM, big jump there to 650s, and it's back down. So just be careful out there. MRN trying to get going here, but the spread is wide on this bad boy. Be careful out there, guys. Big spike there to 650s and then right back down. So I don't know about this one. The volume was really low, though. It was only 20,000 shares there. BRAX trying to bounce off this 636. Just don't like it, man. The hourly chart, it doesn't look too bad there on VRAX, but we'll see how it kind of develops. Could see reloads closer towards 526 level. So pullbacks to 526 and then going back is what I see. Q is dragging there, guys. Now they're taking another leg down. That's going to help some Procter & Gamble, some defensive names start to really take a lead. Remember, we weren't really seeing anything trend. And there's really not much trending either. Financial services are up, but they're not up big. Real estate isn't even up big. There's nothing really up big right now. Technology is taking a whacking. Cyclicals are taking a whack. Basic materials are taking a whack. So pretty much a lot of things are down right now, getting that bounce, but there's really not much that's in the green today. Even financial services that are doing well. There's names like Wells Fargo that's doing pretty well there, up to 57.20s, but it's not a big push. It's just like you got what, 2% there. Zoom seems expended. Time for a swing short. It'll all depend on Nvidia tonight. If Nvidia rips, growth stocks are going to be looking great. Is there time for a short? Yeah, there is time to take it now. Only question is, what will happen with Nvidia tonight? Roku, very similar stock. You know, if Nvidia gets crushed tonight, I think Roku's back down to 60s, maybe even 50. But if not, this could bounce back, right? This has been on a fade all morning, could cut down to the 67 now after just rejected that 67 74s. So as on a scalp, I actually kind of like Roku to the downside here through this level. And there it goes already. It was at the 60s just a second ago. Now jumping towards the 67 30s. Starting to cut Roku pretty day. $10.52 guys. Nvidia now down to 125.60s, 125s. I talked about this on the daily. You start to approach the washout levels through that 125, going to 124s. That's the top bottom that I see right now. I don't see too much further than that for Nvidia. So I'll also be watching to see if when do I get a turnaround on Nvidia. I don't think Nvidia just collapses today. I think it's more about a matter of it's going up and down, and it's going to play a little bit of a bounce. Oops, Zoom, not Zim. Yeah, not Zim. All right, we'll see what else is out there. Smash it up, guys. Ready to wrap it up here. We've had over 94 of you guys. Nvidia still going down there, 125.40s. Needs to recover back towards 127 for me to even think about that. And that's just normal, that wash out there. Look at AMD, back down to 146, taking a big hit. Micron down to 93s, just whacking. Just getting a straight whack there. Apple now into the red as that was green. Google continuing to just fade off that bull trap out the gates there. Definitely was a bull trap. Gilead, that was really hot, just bounced off the VWAP. Healthcare has been in the green today, but not by much. We'll see if it can hold on. ASST now taking that 3, going to 330s here. So if there's anywhere I can maybe take a scalp and be somewhere near a name like this, but just not seeing much out there, guys. I might just call it a wrap there. It's 10:54. We'll see if we get another action move, but right now it's kind of just not going anywhere. All right, Success just took a downturn there, so we could see Nvidia go right back to the VWAP and just play this little bounce. Tesla down to 206. Remember I talked about earlier this week, Tesla could easily be back down to 200 by the end of the week. Exactly what I see right now. I could see Tesla heading down towards 180. Tesla heads towards 180s. I'll tell you one thing. There's going to be a lot of traders that bought in this time that are just... That's the truth. All right, guys. Let's see what else is out there. Zimming. That's your shipping stock, right? Yeah. What about SBOK? SBLK. Ooh, that hasn't turned around. All right, guys, starting to see a little bit of a turn there, a little bit of a bounce there in the Qs. Not much, but definitely a little bounce there. Just deleting the drawings right now. You're trying to undercut the low and recover. So right now you're undercutting here the Q, and you'll look to see if it recovers back through the VWAP, which is 475. Rejections could come closer towards 474. HAIN, you guys saw this one trade yesterday. This one's trying to make a day 2 move back through the 932s. Doesn't look too bad on this little pullback. I'm watching it right now, guys. HAIN here. Up 1, down 1, did that one pattern, just pulled back to the VWAPs, trying to catch a little bit of support here on the pullback and go for another drive. It's done 1, 2, 3 drives off this VWAP. This would be the last type of drive that I could see happen, but does it mean that it's breaking down right now? No, but definitely I'm seeing the slowdown. And it seems to me like this is kind of a cup and handle pattern on the 15. So looking for maybe a potential pullback to the 75s and then back through the 915 is not a bad potential move. So that'd be watching the 5-minute come back into kind of the support here, closer towards the 70s, and then catch a little love. HAN. HAIN. POOD. Nah, not doing too much there, guys. Looking around to try to find any trade that actually makes sense here. There's really not too much on the risk to return side that makes sense. I can go for some scalps. That's about all I see out there. All right, guys, we'll see what else is happening out there. Lulu now down 1.52. Was looking at a fade off of Lulu, and I think that could even break Ulta. Ulta has been strong here, guys, but I think even though Warren's in this thing, I think you could start to see a little retrace back into the gap. So not saying that Ulta's breaking down to 300, but 350s definitely, I feel like, is in play. Nice rejection there for the bullish move. Now just broke down and it's now on a breakdown move. Could look to see if 374 is rejects and it takes the next move towards 370. Doesn't look too bad at all. There's success right back up. Zoomies. All right, guys, I'm looking at a potential short here on Zooms. Would love for this to make an actual up move, and then I can get shorted later in the day. I'll be watching. I'm going to look for it to get back into this spot here, guys. So back towards like this 2830s to 2850s. That's kind of the area where I can see a nice big short on Zoomies. I'll be watching to see if I can get it back into that spot. All right, guys, time to wrap it up, guys. It's 10:58. Could take a look at some other action, but we had a great day today. Can't really be mad, guys. Only took 10 tickets. And the truth is, green. Didn't push it. Didn't see another trade out there. Success could have been another trade, right? If I was taking anything, that's what made sense to me. Sticking into success today. Yesterday was Soxel. Today was success. Not a bad trade, right? Going to go ahead and celebrate the win. Not a bad day today. 252. Ready to keep pushing on the week, guys. Had a red day on Monday, of course. And back. Day, kind of a even day. Really looking to forward. We'll see what happens, guys. It's been a good week. Still green week, right? Maybe not $1,000 week this week, but to tell you the truth, I'm just trying to keep in the consistency. And sometimes it's not about the big money. It's more about staying to the system, staying to the way that we're trading, staying to what's working. All right, guys, I'll see you guys back tomorrow, guys. You are learning. That's what I want to hear, guys. At the end of the day, I'm not here just to talk, guys. I'm always here also to take a look at the action. Soxel just gave me an alert there, and that tells me more and more how you're seeing breakdown out there. Success just took another leg to 2370s. So I hope somebody was able to also kill it on Success today. Many blessings for all of you guys around. Keep battling out there, guys. It's not just one way. I hope you guys enjoyed the action today. Before we get out of here, guys, I want to give you guys an ability to make some money. Enter a raffle, guys. So right now we have a raffle that's going on in our Instagram, guys. Yes, Instagram. So I want you guys to check this out. Definitely take a look into it, guys. And if you guys have Instagram, you really want to pay attention to this because it could give you a way of actually winning something on the action today, guys. So definitely, I want you guys to take a look at that action, but take a look into our Instagram. Do you want to win a load of prizes? Trade the Pool is turning 2 years. Yes, 2 years, guys. And to celebrate this amazing milestone, we're throwing an epic scavenger hunt. We're hiding our hats all over Instagram. How is it going to work? Follow us on Instagram at Trade the Pool, share this post, and count the hats. Keep an eye out on our story for hidden hats. You have 24 hours to find as many as you can. Submit your guess. Once the hunt is over, we'll open a question box so you can write how many hats you found. Enter the raffle, guys. I'll throw up the link here in just a second, and you guys can check out this video to tell you a little bit more about it. It's probably going to keep.
You want to win tons of prizes? Trade the Pool is turning 2, and to celebrate this amazing event, we are throwing a big party, and you're invited. So get ready for an epic scavenger hunt. We are hiding our heads all over Instagram. All you gotta do is follow us on Instagram and keep your eyes peeled for hats hidden in our stories. Count every hat you spot, like this, or this, or this. Find as many hats as possible and then tell us your total. So grab your phone, gather your friends, and let the hunt begin.
Some swag on that video. Michael killing it. Where's the hats? Do you see the hat? I saw a hat there. Guys, check out our Instagram. Definitely Trade the Pool is the best. See the love out there, guys. Take a look into the Instagram. Get after it. Happy birthday to Trade the Pool. And definitely happy birthday to everybody that's been around and hung out with us, especially everybody that's been battling, trying to get after the success. I wish you guys the best. And saw the hat? The hat. Get after it. Instagram. Don't miss on the opportunity to win some prizes, man. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time right here. I'll see you guys back in the morning. Good day today, man. Green day overall. What will happen to Nvidia tonight? Find out, guys. It's going to be definitely market moving, like always, right here on Trade the Pool.